necessity is the essence of our existence. Stars don't look bigger. They do look brighter. Stars don't look bigger. Stars don't look I don't know what you can say about being Space Force is a force to be reckoned with.
Buenas, mi gente. Bienvenidos a ver más a este su canal de El James. Y hoy, en un stream algo especial, que pues estamos preparándonos para ver el update para uno de las franquicias que más me ha gustado en la vida. Bienvenido a este, que es la que está pasando ya. Pero estén bien, mi hermanato. Pues sí. Es un update de una de las franquicias que yo más he disfrutado desde mi juventud. Fue Killer Instinct, un juego de pelea que no mucha gente que conozco lo juegue o le haya gustado en algún momento. Bien aquí lurkeando, ya, gracias, papito. El juego de. Déjame darte un shout out, lo que. El Jaster soy Jaster. Está por ahí. Este juego desde que salió el primero, el primer juego en Super Nintendo, yo lo jugué mucho en arcade. Me gustó demasiado, sinceramente. Y me gustó el combate, me gustó la forma en
resumen,
en cómo los personajes no se sentían iguales uno con el otro. Con la gente que llega a jugarlo, no todos usaban el mismo personaje, siempre tenían técnicas diferentes, siempre había cosas diferentes. Y por eso fue que me gustó. De hecho, en mi canal de YouTube tengo un playlist dedicado a cuando yo estuve haciendo un par de fines de semana jugando Killer Instinct con el señor Javi TV. Y nos gozamos esto con cojones, gente. Ustedes no tienen ni idea. Esto fue. De hecho, voy a contarle. Para cuando yo empecé a hacer stream como tal, más seguido, más fijo. Cuando me compré la computadora y quería hacerlo un poquito más, entre comillas, profesional, o sea, que se viera mejor y toda la cosa. Yo compré la computadora, una laptop, y me compré este aparato que está aquí, un arcade stick, simplemente por querer jugar el Killer Instinct. Yo soy de las personas que me crié en ambiente arcade y nunca he podido jugar juegos de pelea con control. Se me hacen súper complicados. Ahora con arcade stick se me hace mucho más fácil hacer los comandos, hacer los movimientos y toda la cosa. Por eso fue la razón en que compré el arcade stick. Killer Instinct 2013 está cumpliendo 10 años esta semana. De hecho, hoy cumple 10 años. Va a tirar un update nuevo. Todavía no sé qué es lo que viene. No sé qué es lo que van a traer. No sé nada. Sinceramente no sé nada. Simplemente sé que viene. Supuestamente es un parcho de balanceo y mejoras gráficas. El juego es viejito, el juego salió para cuando salió el Xbox One, así que se pueden imaginar, ¿sabes? No es muy adelantado, y los gráficos y toda la cosa, ¿sabes? Son bastante atrasaditos. Pero el juego todavía sigue gustando. Vamos a adelantar un poquito de esto porque ustedes puedan ver un poquito más de la acción que tuvimos entre el señor Javi y yo. De hecho, esto que están viendo en la mini screen aquí fue cuando yo intentaba hacer los streams un poquito más profesionales, ¿no? Que tenía un chatbot en la pantalla y toda la cosa. Esto fue todavía cuando yo hacía stream en YouTube también. De hecho, El juego se convirtió en uno de mis favoritos cuando estaba jugándolo por stream, haciendo stream. Y me encantaba. Realmente lo dejé de jugar porque hubo un altercado aquí en mi casa. Llegaron. Un día que yo estaba súper pompeado, de hecho. Estaba a punto de coger vacaciones. Ya yo había hecho planes con Javi para hacer para estar un poquito más seguido, por lo menos en mi lapso de vacaciones. Mandé a pedir una camisa, esta no fue otra camisa, una camisa temática de Killer Instinct para jugar ese día cuando empezara a hacer los domingos de Killer Instinct, que para aquel tiempo fue. Y yo salgo del trabajo, busco la camisa en el correo abajo, súper pompeado. Y cuando subo a mi casa, encuentro que me habían robado. Se llevaron la laptop con la que estaba haciendo stream y estaba jugando. Se llevaron un Switch antiguo que tenía, el primer Switch que compré, de hecho. Se llevaron una computadora que yo tenía para trabajar. So, yeah. Jun, ¿qué es la que hay? Saludos. So, sí, soqueó. No se lo puedo negar. Pero eso no significó que el juego dejara de ser uno de mis favoritos. Y por eso, después de 10 años, estoy súper pompeado por ver que la gente de Iron Galaxy nos traen para juego de Killer Instinct ahora de nuevo. Vamos a dar un charao aquí al señor Jun. Los otros días no hablé, estuve lurkeando por tu stream, mano. Mala mía, no te hablé, pero sí, estoy por ahí. Pero sí, el juego, o sea, yo no soy mucho de juegos de pelea. Killer Instinct me gusta por el simple hecho de que con la gente que yo juego no usan los mismos personajes y se siente diferente. No usa un personaje meta como tal, ni top tier. Simplemente usan varios. Y los personajes se sienten todos diferentes a la forma de jugar. Por eso que me gusta. Y donde yo me crié, tengo un tío que arreglaba maquinitas y el Charo, gracias por el info. Sí. Donde yo me crié, mi tío arreglaba maquinitas arcade. Por eso es que yo decidí comprarme un arcade stick. Me crié en ese ambiente, ¿no? Mi tío arreglaba maquinitas arcade y pues decidí adentrarme al mundo del arcade y toda la cosa. Y uno de los juegos que me llamó demasiado la atención fue Killer Instinct. En cuanto a los combos, el path para poder usar los botones, la forma en que los personajes, la música de Killer Instinct está brutal, sinceramente. Es otra cosa, y por eso estamos aquí. Por eso, para celebrar el 10º aniversario de Killer Instinct 2013 o Killer Instinct Xbox, que antes eran de Nintendo. De hecho, yo tengo los dos cassettes de Killer Instinct, el de Super Nintendo, que es el único cassette negro que existe de Super Nintendo, el de Killer Instinct, y el de Killer Instinct Gold, que lo conseguí también. Estoy tratando de ver si consigo el disco de Killer Instinct 2013, simplemente por tener la trilogía, como quien dice. Porque yo entiendo que yo tengo Killer Instinct de Game Boy. entiendo que lo tengo. So, no sé, tendría que ver. Pero sí, esto, si todo ya me llama mucho la atención, entiendo que Catador, uno que le va a gustar entrarle a Killer Instinct de nuevo. So, voy a tratar de traer a Catador para eso. Y tratar de traer el juego otra vez para stream. Vamos a ver si ya empezaron allá. No, todavía no han empezado. Está bien. Yo, ¿qué es lo que estoy esperando del parche? Tiene un armónico. Fíjate, Bloody Roar yo no lo he jugado. Sinceramente. Yo tengo que darle una chequeadita. Bloody Roar yo no lo he jugado. By the way, ese gameplay que están viendo aquí en la pantallita es en mi canal de YouTube. Lo pueden conseguir. Un playlist que cuando Javik y yo jugábamos Killer Instinct empezamos sábado y después lo cambiamos a domingo. Estuvimos un par de semanitas nada más por lo del altercado. Pero ¿qué yo estoy esperando de este update? Ok, ellos dijeron que es un falcho de balance de personajes. So, yo no jugué contra Rush. Yo no jugué contra General Rum. Ni jugué con ellos tampoco. Que no te sabría decir. Ahora jugué contra Jago, jugué mucho. Contra Orchid jugué mucho. Jugué contra... ¿Cuál era el otro? Yo quisiera aprender a usar la Idol y quiero ver qué mecánicas le traen a Idol, porque Idol estaba medio bufio para usarlo. ¿Qué más? El de NES, NES, pues... Si te hablo claro, el de NES, el primero es súper bueno, ¿no? ¿Sabes? Hablando claro. Es uno de los mejores Killer Instinct. Y de hecho, me gusta más que el segundo. Este tercero está... O sea, ellos dieron en el clavo bien duro. Sinceramente, entre el combate, la música, los stage. La forma en cómo la música interactúa mientras tú estás haciendo combo es estúpida. So, vamos a ver. Vamos a ver. Pero yo quiero saber. Sinceramente, quiero saber qué van a traer esta gente. Ahí tengo la página de Iron Galaxy para tan pronto ellos empiecen entonces seguir. ¿Qué año para Fighting Game? Sí, de hecho sí. O sea, Street Fighter 6 está buenísimo. Mortal Kombat 1, por lo que sé, está medio regular, no está tan bueno. Tekken 8 viene ya mismo. Grand Blue versus no sé qué diablo. Lo van a hacer free to play. Que está súper bueno. El de Nickelodeon 2 salió hace poco también. Y aparentemente está bien. Está esperando Pro L. Ese yo también lo he escuchado mucho. El que le quiero meter. No me olvido el nombre de ese. Que también lo hizo Art System. Ahí falta. Es de es un juego de pelea, pero de un MMO. Yo creo que. O un Dungeon Crawler. No me acuerdo. No me acuerdo el nombre, pero quiero intentarlo ese. Me mantengo al día con los ¿Sabes cuál es el que digo, verdad? Sí. Pues se ve interesante, mano. Y me gusta más por los special moves que tiene. Yo me mantengo mucho el día. Se fue de también. Yo me mantengo mucho el día con Maximilian Dude, un streamer y youtuber de Fire Engine Game. Que con él, mano, es que yo me mantengo. Y ahora están. ¿Empezaron o no empezaron? ¿Tú sigues a ese tipo? Ok. Yo. No es que sea un duro, pero me gustan los juegos de pelea de vez en cuando. Street Fighter lo tengo en la mira y obviamente, pues, regresar a Killer Instinct va a ser la gloria, sinceramente. Y créeme, gente, este es un juego que si tiene Xbox y tiene Game Pass, es lo mejor que pueden hacer. Pero ya empezó esta gente. Vamos. Sorry, Alex, te vamos a mutear. Ya empezó esto, así que vamos para el show, gente. Voy a ponerlo full screen porque, pues, esto es para nosotros. Gracias a todos los que están por ahí, gente. Sinceramente.
Gracias a todos los que están. Viene esto. Sí, vamos a desmutearlo. A ver con qué nos vienen los de Killer Instinct a hablar y a conversar. Y hasta el sillo. ¿Qué tú quieres que yo te diga, hermano? ¿Qué tú quieres que yo te comente con esta voz así mía? Ay. Espero estén todos bien, gente, y en verdad que gracias. Le dio la vuelta de golpe. Un poquito nomás. Bueno, todavía faltan 12 minutos para que esta gente comience como tal. Pero vamos a ver qué nos trae.
Sinceramente, vamos a ver qué nos traen. Supuestamente también vienen ajustes gráficos. Si ven, el juego fue el juego de Xbox One, si no me equivoco. A ver si está en 1060. Vamos a ponerlo a máxima capacidad. Bueno, Ladino, feliz miércoles, que es la que hay. Bienvenido. Vamos a ver. My body's ready. My body's mega ready. Hisako, uno de los mejores personajes que han sacado. Hisako, ¿sabes? No soy main Hisako, pero pues me dieron una pela con Hisako que. Uff. Sí, papá, estaba programado ya. Es un evento especial. Viene un update para el juego Killer Instinct 2013. Juego que todavía se sigue jugando en las competencias de juegos de pelea. Y técnicamente lo van a revivir con esto. Y vamos a ver cómo la gente lo recibe. ¿Sabes que yo me voy a suscribir porque yo no quiero ver el anuncio de esta mierda? No me puedo suscribir. Así que vamos a ver. Vamos a ver qué trae nos trae. Deme un segundito para aquí, gente. Esto. Es que no quiero ver el anuncio, no quiero que estén pasando anuncios mientras estamos viendo el stream, ¿no? No la hace. No la hace. No la hace para nada. Ay. Bueno, los personajes que yo uso en Killer Instinct es Riptor, Cyberwolf y Hisako. Pero Hisako quiero aprender a usarla más que otra cosa. Todavía estoy medio puffy. Escúchense en esa pendeja. Escuchen esa pendeja. Holy Trap, ¿qué es la que hay? Dios mío, esa guitarra. Charo, aquí atrás es lo que comienza esta gente. Killer Instinct. Sí. Happy 10 años a Killer Instinct. Música slap bien duro. Yo... ¿En qué vendrá esta gente? Estoy nervioso y todo. Espero que no le hagan daño a mi boy Cyberwolf ni a mi girl Riptor. Que los dejen, que le añadan, no que le quiten. Que le añaden, no que le quiten. Eso es lo que quiero. Yo me atrevo a apostar que esto me lo van a mutear en YouTube 2. Por lo menos esta parte. Vamos a ver. Se disfruta el momento exacto. Es para ustedes aquí. Allá en YouTube, pues, mala mía, ¿verdad? Pero pues. Que la muteen later, exacto. Vaya en YouTube cuando paso el video de YouTube. General Ram, yo espero que a General Ram le quiten un poquito del... General Ram tiene un ataque que él pone la pantalla negra y no se ve tres carajos, mano. Que a menos que tú no lo conozcas bien, Sacho, te va a dar una pela siempre, ¿sabes? Gargos... Es que Gargos es un boss, ¿sabes? ¿No? Este Eagle, se llama este, sí. Rush. Aria. Tusk. Ahí falta gente, yo no he visto un par de gente. Hisako, falta Shin Hisako, falta... El Golem, me olvidó cómo se llama. Kanra, falta también, no lo he visto ahí todavía. Tarea bueno. Está raro porque en mi... Déjame buscarle. No han puesto ni a Diego. Glacius, Thunder, Sidaria, Orchids, Final, Fulgor, Shadow Diego, DJ Combo, Maya, Kanra, Riptor, Omen, Háganos, Isako, Sindel, Aria, Timutos. Déjame bajarle un poquito, me estaba jodiéndole. Lo subo ahorita. Creo que me estaba bloqueando mi la voz. No. El emo favorito del catador. Yo. ¿Qué me falta? Kilgore también. Sin saco. A buscar otro. A ver si está. Lo tengo todavía. Tres minutitos más. ¿Quién es ese? ¿Ese es de Yanis? Dios mío, no acaba de empezar esto. Yo pensaba que iba a empezar más rápido, sinceramente. Pensaba que iba a empezar más rápido. Pero me equivoqué. Estos son colores nuevos. Bueno. Bueno. Lo que empieza esto. Ah. ¿Qué ustedes piensan de los gráficos de ese juego? Para ser de la época que son, ¿no? A mirar, él lo tiene up close. Más cerca de eso no lo puedes tener. O sea, esta de 2 generaciones atrás. Y... ¿Dos? No, sí, no, esta es una generación atrás, completa. Este fue de los primeros juegos que salió para Xbox One. Para mí se siguen viendo. Con todo y que, ¿verdad? Que tiene sus añitos. Se veían bien. Se sienten. De esto, para mí lo que sobresalta este juego es los movimientos, sinceramente, el gameplay. So, I'm happy with it. Pero el relajo. ¿El de los romanos? ¿Cuál de los romanos? Bueno, vaya. Todo el volumen a esto. Ahí llegó, Iron
Welcome,
Galaxy.
everybody. I'm James Goddard, head of Killer Instinct over here at Xbox, and I'd like to introduce you to Adam Hart, our lead combat designer from Iron Galaxy.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming to the show. We've been hyping it all week. I'm really excited to finally get to show you guys all the balance changes we've been cooking up.
Please
And
do.
I want to remind you all that restreaming and reacting to today's stream is absolutely encouraged. And if you make one of those streams, please turn the face cam on. We love to see your emotions.
Oh yes,
And send
oh
us a
yes,
link
oh yes,
afterwards,
oh
and I'm
yes.
sure a lot of people on the team will check those out.
Estamos.
Yeah. So today is the 10th anniversary of the release of Killer Instinct back in 2013.
Oh,
with the
only,
launch
dale.
of Xbox One. We want to take a
We're
moment to thank all the
we're
developers who
encouraged,
made the
though.
original version possible. Double Helix, all the people at Xbox, of course,
Okay.
Iron Galaxy, all the developers who spent time after that. There's been a ton of people in the background who's worked on the game in different departments, and also you guys. All the streamers,
We're
all
encouraged,
the
though.
influencers, all the players, all the tournament organizers. You
I
guys,
saw
are the reason why
coming.
we're here.
Okay.
I mean, this game was a major milestone for me in a lot of ways in my life. But, you know, I remember just that first time we were at E3 demoing Dive Kick, and the Double Helix guys were there demoing KI 2013 for the very first time. And me and Maximilian got to go get a little bit of private time on the build, just me and him for an hour or so while we both had a break because we were both pretty busy. I swear that game changed both of us. Just everything about it, the way it just felt like so, you know, responsive and crisp in a way that a lot of the games coming out at the time didn't. The combo breaker system, instead of feeling like dumb or tacked on, felt like just this really revolutionary core part of the game that added a gambling aspect that was just way too addictive. Been chasing that high ever since, and obviously getting, you know, a year or so later a chance to actually work on the game was, you know, obviously a huge milestone in my life. So very, very excited to get to revisit this with you, James.
Yeah, me too. I mean, KI goes so far back, you know, for me. I mean, when I first heard rumors we might do KI inside
By the way,
Microsoft,
le
I had
tengo
just
algo
joined.
ready para
And I just joined
ustedes.
to work on Rise on Rome, and I was figuring, well,
Rise of
they
Rome,
asked me to
mira,
interview,
hablando.
would be KI or Rise on Rome? And it was Rise
el-
on Rome. And then someone came by and said, do you know the people over at Double Helix? I'm like, actually, I do.
Most of them.
We worked together
Yeah.
way back on a whole bunch of stuff. And so, you know, when they started working on it, it was just awesome. And, you know, over time, I just got to, you know, jam with them. And then this happened and we got to work together. And I mean,
Era Jun,
geez,
tú que
10
estabas
years
hablando
later,
de
look
eso.
at us. Look at the long road we've been on.
I know.
And
It's been such
there's
a
been
long one.
so many things that we've done.
Yo lo busco, yo no lo busco.
Wild, cutting edge, crazy.
Pero como quiera,
but,
mira,
you know,
ya le estaba hablando de
that's
eso
why we're
también. So,
Absolutely. So I think other than balance today, we are going to get a small glimpse at some of the new UI updates. Is that true, James?
UI. Ok, ya empezamos
we
bien.
are. And let's take a look at this thing right here.
Oh,
This is our new color
sexy.
scheme for this version of the game.
Sexy.
Yeah, you know,
Sexy.
every major season or, you know, we always have changed the color theme. And with this one, we wanted to give a nod back to
Killer
KI
Instinct
Gold on
Gold.
N64.
Yes.
It's not exactly verbatim, but it's definitely inspired by.
Oh,
And
yes.
So this is, you know, part of what we're doing.
Yeah,
Oh,
to
yes.
bring the camera back to me, I actually had this in my living room. My own
Yo lo tengo
cartridge
por
for KI
ahí,
Gold,
yo lo
so you
tengo
can
por
see how
ahí.
well the colors match up
Dame un
kinda
segundo, dame un
with this
segundo.
camera. So yeah.
There is a purple and gold in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty awesome. All right, so before we get started going any farther with this stream, I want to introduce today's very special guest. He was sitting right beside me and Isaac when
Yo lo
we did
tengo, yo
the
lo
live
tengo, yo lo
Season 3
tengo.
Rebalance
Woo!
reveals of KI Cup, and he is one of the most insightful and strong people in the fighting game community. He's
Y el
really
otro
good
que
at
tengo,
kind of
mira.
seeing the big picture and breaking it down in
Killer
a way that a lot of
Instinct
others aren't.
Super
So,
Nintendo.
you know, one of my favorite people to talk to about fighting games. So happy he was able to join us today. Sajam, welcome.
What's up? Howdy gamers, how goes it? How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's chilling.
Yes.
Everything's so purple and gold and pretty, I gotta say. I was lucky enough to take a little
Tú lo
look at
tenías.
it in the
Ah,
game.
ya, che, yo
and
tuve que
boy, you guys
comprarlo
did a
otra
great
vez.
job. The new visual, like,
¿Qué ha hecho aquí?
aesthetic of the game is incredibly
¿Qué es la
nice.
que hay,
It's
Kata?
super cool.
Yeah, players will get to see that in just a little bit.
Mhm.
De luchar
Yeah,
aquí,
that's
Kata.
awesome. Hey, Sajam, can you tell us a little bit about your history with Killer Instinct?
Yeah, I mean, KI came out at like the perfect time for me because I'm sure a lot of people have this. Like when they were younger and they were interested in fighting games, they thought they were so cool, and they're like, "Hey, parents, can underage me go fly to this video game tournament?" And they're like, "No."
Engañando con la
Absolutely not.
compu.
So then I like right when I got out of high school and I like had some wiggle room to like, you know, go do things myself, KI came out. So it was like the
Oh.
perfect timing where I was interested in fighting games. And then Killer Instinct came out in like 2013
Nice.
when I had started to travel and do some more stuff. So it was like the perfect time for me to play the game, and I loved it. It's like the first competitive game that I was interested in traveling around for and doing stuff with at the time. And it was just like it struck the perfect time. And it's a game I'm always happy to come back and play. Like I feel like I always come back at least once or twice a year and do like a KI session. And this update, it makes me really excited. It's like there's so many cool
Estamos
things
mucho
happening for fighting
contamos
games right
loco
now.
por el update.
And so the
Loco,
idea
vamos a
of
ver.
like KI being a game on the docket in 2023/2024 that you're like, oh yeah, there's some new KI stuff. Let me go play some KI is a really strange but awesome.
Para el Switch,
feeling.
nice.
Surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this stream, it's not going to be quite the same amount of changes as that infamous and famous stream that we did back at KI Cup 2013. Do you want to say anything about that, Adam? Because that was a groundbreaker.
Yeah, I mean that's one of my core memories that forms me as a person at this point. You know, back then I had pitched to James the timing for the season 3 rebalance being done and the timing of KI Cup that year are like the stars are aligning. Can we go reveal this in front of a live studio audience and risk our lives? And James is just like, what would you say, James?
Well, you know, I was maybe a bit more conservative back then. I was like, we're gonna do what? I mean,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that's crazy. No one does that. And that became our mantra. No one does that.
Yeah.
So we did.
Exacto.
And you guys killed it. I mean, again, what was it, like 2.5 hours or more?
Yeah, we got about 2 hours worth of content today too.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay,
Diablo,
it's
2
darn
horas, wow.
close. It's darn close. But yeah, I mean, again, one of the things I definitely love about how that goes is, you know, we always have the interaction with the community, and you know, we love talking about the changes and why we do the changes, and really, frankly, I don't think anybody does that better than your team. So I'm really excited to get into this. So actually, with that in mind, we have a lot to cover today. So yeah, we're going to go through all the balance changes live. Sajam has not seen any of this, so you'll get his live reactions, and he'll be able to ask questions as Adam goes through the demo. Well, he got to poke around the build. He hasn't been presented any of this information. So at the end, we'll have a couple more updates for you from our friends at 86, by the way, which I am wearing the freshly refreshed blue Glacius shirt. And there's something cool that's new coming from 86 at the end that we'll show you.
Otra cosa más. Cabrones, no, me van a arruinar. Otra camisa más nueva más. No.
So until then, you'll just have to follow along with
Esta camisa yo la compré donde él mismo compró la de él, por si acaso.
That's right. James, let me ask you a question. When's this update going to drop, and what's it called?
Well, it is called Killer Instinct Anniversary Edition.
Anniversary Edition, okay.
It will include everything you're going to see here today. And all that is in final testing right now, and we'll announce a release date as soon as possible. So stay tuned to KI Socials for that announcement.
As soon as possible?
I want to talk really quick about additions here. So you're seeing on screen is something very cool. We're very excited about this. If you think about the journey of KI, we went from season 1 to season 2 to season 3 to season 3.5. We had a la carte characters. We had different editions. We have like 8 different editions over the years. We have a definitive edition. And
yo tengo la definitive edition. Eso fue lo que yo compré.
When we got the opportunity to move KI into all new technology on the Xbox side, and all the new development kit, new services with PlayFab, we wanted to streamline things, because this is all those a la carte offers are part of what makes things challenging. And when we get support reports of people missing content, so we're streamlining everything. And what you're seeing here is, with the release of Anniversary Edition, we'll have the free-to-play KI base game that's always been there, and one edition, which is KI Anniversary Edition. And so let's talk about the free-to-play game. That's been improved. All 29 characters on the roster are now rotating weekly instead of bi-weekly, and it used to only be 21 of them. So it's all
sí, by the way, si lo quieren probar.
done in there that are nice that we'll talk about later. And then Anniversary Edition will be the premium upgrade with all 29 fighters, all the premium content we ever did, including holiday accessories, which some of you may have missed. They'll just be unlocked now. The VIP double XP booster, and you know, anything else in there that I'm not covering right now. You know, there'll also be KI Gold, of course, which will help you with your progression shortcuts.
Okay.
That's just for in-game content like skins and accessories that and
Of
colors
course,
that you
porque tienen
unlock
que ser
as you
chavos de alguna
level your
manera.
characters
Después,
up.
después de
So
10 años,
everything
¿sabes?
premium is unlocked in this edition. So let's talk about what that means for some existing editions like Definitive.
Ajá.
So Definitive Edition, and along with a lot of those other a la carte offers I mentioned, they're being retired after this. So it'll just be the base game and KI Anniversary Edition. So what that means though is there's M-rated content in the KI Definitive Edition that I think is important to talk about. That's just the KI Classics. The KI
Okay.
we know and love is a teen-rated game. KI Classics are M-rated, and so those are standalone apps. So when we retire this, KI Definitive Edition is being retired, and so are the classics for now. We'll figure out what to do with them later. And so anybody who already owns Killer Instinct Definitive Edition, don't worry, all of your content is still there. It's always in your library. You can go download your classics. You can download the Definitive Edition app. These are the only things that are being retired that are not going to be available anymore after this. If you ever own just one character, if you ever own like Season 2 Ultra Edition,
Okay.
all that's still in your library. Nothing's going away. So I just want to reassure everybody that this is just a streamlining and everything you had is still there. And I think that is it for that one.
Cool. So basically, if I bought any version of this game before, I'm just going to get that upgrade.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes. Well, sorry. If you have Definitive Edition, right? You have Definitive Edition, and if you, and anything else you had is still in your library, and you can still
got it. Cool.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Steam really fast, and then we'll move on to the
Sí,
fun
por
stuff
favor.
on balance.
Sweet.
So Steam is actually getting unified with the other two editions, and in the sense that it now has a free to play. Steam was purchase only before, so if you ever had friends who were like, "Well, I'm not sure," and they didn't have access to Xbox or the Win 10 version of KI.
Porque quiero saber si yo tengo que pagar por el update.
We've introduced that, and it's the same exact deal. 2 editions, everything's streamlined. Owners of the current Steam edition, it's an automatic update to Anniversary Edition, just
That's
like
it.
Definitive
Okay,
Edition
eso es lo que quería saber.
on Xbox and PC.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that is all the business that I needed to cover for editions. Let's get to the balance.
All right. Thanks a ton, James. It's a lot of info. We'll definitely touch on it again at the end of the stream. Steve, you ready to do this thing?
Yeah, let's take a looky. I'm so excited. I haven't seen anything, and I'm roaring. I'm ready to go. It was a mutual understanding that I was like, hey, I don't want to know any, and you were like, you don't get to know anything, and I was like, all right, if we shook hands on it, and I was like, cool, I get to see everything live with everybody else, so I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, the only thing I told him was there's 10 characters that didn't get any changes, and that he could play with those and those only.
Yeah, so we made sure that you and I could play online if need be, and we played characters that had no changes, which was fun. And then I closed the app, and then I waited for today so that I could see all the changes. So yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna navigate to the character select screen here in practice mode, just so you can see this all new character select screen before I get into my spiel. The portraits have been completely redone. They look absolutely incredible.
Oh, they look better.
The whole new color scheme is here as well. Lots of purple. The giant gas fart clouds are now gone. So yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know how much you're gonna cover about all the changes to everything, but it's very noticeable if you boot up on like a higher resolution or higher refresh rate monitor, and you look at the game now versus before. It's very clear. Yeah,
there's been a lot of UI upscaling and redoing just to make sure that it looks really clean and crisp if you play on a high resolution monitor, because this game is 10 years old. It was like a launch game on Xbox One, so all that work pretty incredible. I think you guys are really going to appreciate it, especially if you're in the year of 2023 or 2024 playing Killer Instinct, which is very cool. So I'm gonna jump back to the script here.
I was gonna say too, and for a lot of us, we didn't even have that stuff back then. Like 2013 was before everybody was focused on that stuff. So
Exacto.
All right, so before we get going, I
17,
want to let people know that this stream is going to have an after party on Say James' channel. So he'll have access to the beta version of this build, and he'll be able to test stuff out in training mode with you and for you. Steve, if you need someone to beat up during your stream, I will stop by and donate my out of practice hands.
This picture.
Okay.
I know what this is from. This is the most random place to grab a picture too. Okay. Yeah.
That was my
I'll
choice.
be there.
Yeah, we had originally a more mundane choice, but that's the right one to go with.
No, yeah, that's great.
Picture. Yeah.
That's how I'm over there cooking. That's how I look when I'm
exactly.
what's it called? When I'm testing stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll be there. I'll take questions. and
Bring
then,
me,
yeah,
bring
we can
me.
do some gaming as
Yeah.
well. But I'm not gonna like sit there and be like testing super extensively every little detail. But we'll go over. You know, I want to do like broad strokes of a lot of characters.
Yeah, and the full patch notes will be out then as well, so you can reread them as you need to. All right, so let me take a little sip here. I have a long spiel to go through at the start.
Okay. Yeah.
Ma. All right, here we go.
Don't freak out, everybody.
Steve, feel free to interrupt me at any time during any part of this presentation with a question or comment. Let's have some fun, keep it conversational. And before I read the introduction to the patch notes, I just need to run to my basement laboratory to grab my lab coat, which I forgot. So I'll be right back.
Okay. He's gone. It's us, chat.
Okay.
I can tell you that the secret to the universe and life
Tan
is in this build.
production
And I've
value,
accessed it
people.
when he wasn't looking.
By the way, si se ve un poquito como que
And I can now
pegojoso el
reveal
juego
you
como
the
tal, es que él lo está transmitiendo
All
de,
right. Got my lab coat on.
de
Just like my
a
mad
Discord.
scientist
So.
Conra. Got my
Para
wraps on my
retransmitirlo
sleeves.
otra vez a
Thanks to
Twitch.
James Godden
So.
for sending me this shirt last week.
Gross. I feel like your hair changed.
Right?
Like you hit hair and makeup like you did a stage performance.
All right. Okay. On with the show. If this thing gets too hot, I'm going to rip it right off my body, just so you know. All right. Hello, killers. Long time no patch. Version 3.9.13 launched on August 16th of 2018. In the 5 years since then, a ton of you have continued to play Killer Instinct, develop new strategies, and push what is possible at the top levels of play.
Okay.
We've been given the rare opportunity to do one more training pass after all this time, so we secretly recruited a few of KI's strongest and smartest players to get their feedback on what minor adjustments they'd want to see.
Please.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a cough drop. This is gonna be a tough one. All right, here we go. The goal of this balance update is to reduce frustrations of some of the game's strongest characters and moves,
Oh.
while also giving a little love to the characters who
Buff
tend to
and
struggle
debuff.
even after 5 years of player effort. Not every character is getting changes, and the changes coming in will, in most cases, not affect your playstyle much. If your
Okay.
characters did not get any changes, keep in mind that some of your more difficult matchups may have gotten easier. We hope that these changes will breathe some new life into KI's competitive scene, and we look
Okay.
forward to watching you compete for as long as you're still having fun
Okay.
doing so.
Okay.
The team wants to genuinely thank the community for their passion and dedication to Killer Instinct. If you never stop playing, we hope you really enjoy the update. If you're coming back because of the changes, the community will welcome you with open arms and help you catch up because, despite being killers, they really are that nice.
That's true.
While we did receive a multitude of requests for changes and fixes, time is not infinite. The team prioritized the issues we felt would have the largest impact and tried to take our usual creative approach to them. Some changes, such as bug fixes, may have been passed on because they were too risky or too difficult to adjust in the limited time we had to work on the update. Your
Diablo.
understanding is appreciated.
O sea que ellos trabajaron esto en menos
We
nada.
will try to include the reasoning used for each set of the changes below, as well as an indication of if each change is intended to be a buff or a nerf. You actually won't be able to see that today, but on the actual physical patch notes that we'll release later, you'll see the buff and nerf notations.
Okay.
Select community members weighed in heavily on these changes to give us the best possible chance at improving a game you already love. And we'd like to give them a special thanks for their time, dedication, and invaluable feedback. So, shout outs to Sonic Dolphin, Nikki, Wheels, Charbach, Latalis, Hello World, and Roman. The rest of you know who you are, and it's up to them if they want to reveal themselves. Thank you to all of you for making this as great as it could be. Again, the full patch notes will be available online shortly after this stream to read at your own pace. Long ass intro, I got through it. Steve, any questions?
Did it? No, just before that, I wanted to touch on something you mentioned, where if your character didn't change, or even if your character got slight buffs or nerfs, you got to remember that this whole thing, like every character, there'll be a shuffle, right? If your character was like maybe on the weaker side and your two weakest, matchups got nerfed, then
Me
your
imagino
character might
que
be much stronger, right?
Kilgore
So it's just important to remember
lo
that,
van a hacer
don't
buff.
freak out, and if you do freak out, don't
Y
freak
a
out.
Shinhisaku.
Freak out
Pues ellos fueron de
and
los
keep it in your
últimos
house and then,
personajes que
calm
trajeron.
down a bit and then play the game.
Y a
Exactly.
Eagle.
Some of all parts, the spiel I always give in front of all my balance
Yeah.
things. Wait to hear it all, see how it all fits together, all right? So first up, we only have one small system change that I want to go over. I'm not going to show it here, but we fixed a game-wide bug that could sometimes cause projectiles to not get the first hit 2x damage bonus. So you could occasionally see things like Eagle's Bird or Rash's Bike do less damage than expected.
Okay.
Oh my god, Rash got a buff. Not really,
It's
but
already beginning.
it's a game-wide issue. And that's fixed now. So you shouldn't see that happen anymore. It'll just make things feel more consistent, which is really good.
Él está hablando de Raj porque Raj es uno de los personajes más incómodos para... uno de los más fuertes que tiene el
a
juego.
lot of characters. The full patch notes are going to call out which ones, but on today's stream, I'm just going to skip over those because it gets a little too nitty gritty. Cool? All right, so to avoid leaving people in too much suspense, I want to talk quickly about the characters who did not get any balance changes.
Okay.
The characters I'm about to list did not receive any balance adjustments, though a few did get a minor bug fix or two. There's a few reasons for that. Firstly, the changes to other characters are going to impact their matchups, so you'll find that some of their hardest matchups have gotten easier. Secondly, we didn't want to make risky changes just for the sake of making changes, so we carefully considered community feedback when deciding which issues to tackle. Lastly, we believe that these characters are still very capable and strong even without any changes. From Saberwolf's powerful ground control to Hisako's mix-up potential to Mira's extreme damage, we feel they should work even better in this new version and remain fun and relevant for everyone.
Gracias!
So, here's the list of the 10 characters. I'm just going to rip the band-aid off. These are the 10 characters who did not get any balance adjustments.
Okay.
Saberwolf.
Thank you.
TJ Combo.
Okay.
Conra. Riptor. Hisako.
Gracias,
Cinder,
gracias. Tres de los míos.
Arbiter.
Claro,
Mira,
Diego.
and Kilgore. That's 10, right?
Yeah, that's 10.
I can count, yeah. So the winner of the guessing contest on Twitter was Dylan Deck with 6 correct guesses. Thanks to everyone who participated in that. That was a good bit of fun. And for the rest of the list, we're going to go through in release order. So we will start off with Mr. Jago.
Okay. ¿Qué le hicieron a Jago?
Whoops. There you go. I'm going to be doing player 1 with arcade stick and player 2 with a gamepad, and sometimes I'll have to do both at once. We'll see how that goes for me. So I want refill on the meters. I got my input display on, looking good. Cool. And we're off, everybody. We increased Jago's forward and backward walk speeds by 10%. This small improvement will help Jago maintain favorable screen position. So he's a little bit faster now. It's actually feels pretty nice, I would say.
Okay.
That seems huge, yeah. That is a really... I think walk speed is one of the biggest buffs a character can ever get. It's really nice.
Sometimes it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
We also drastically improved the hitbox and active time of Jago's jumping heavy punch, this guy right here. This move has like a pizza cutter quality to its animation, but the hitbox is very conservative on that compared to other similar looking jumping attacks. So these improvements are going to help it make it feel as good as it looks. So it hits a little earlier and up a little higher, and it also lasts a little longer and hits behind him for a little longer.
Okay, so sí, puede hacer overhead también. Okay, cool.
Small change, but it's pretty nice.
Sí.
And then here's probably my favorite change of all of the changes in the entire change list. We did some adjustments to the Tiger's Fury special. So, jack of all trades protagonist characters often find themselves in an undesirable spot late in a game's life cycle. Jago is a very complete character, but he does not stand out and isn't scary in the way that much of the rest of the cast is. So we wanted to figure out how to add some threat to Jago's toolkit, and decided to lean into our mantra of high risk, high reward. So to do this, we've decided to center Jago's identity around the idea of high damage Tiger's Fury. So the light Tiger's Fury now does 26 damage, used to be 18. The medium now does 30, used to be 22. And the heavy now does 34, used to be 26. So this is a very significant amount of extra damage, but it gets really wild when we turn on our counter hits. Because these got an even bigger buff on counter hit.
Okay.
So the counter hit damage on, and they actually have a ton of extra hit stop as well. So the light one is now 32 on counter hit. Got that kind of juicy freeze to it. The medium's 40. And here's the scary one, heavy, 50 damage up front. So these hurt really bad. And if you jump and press the button and you get clipped out of the air by this guy, yeah, that's a lot of life to lose to an unbreakable single hit. That's very risky. If they block this, you know you're going to get blown up. You're going to eat a 19% unbreakable opener in reply. And what we found in practice was that, you know, the rest of Jago's fairly mundane toolkit, like his fireballs and faking those out and getting you to jump, and doing some of his little frame traps that are, you know, cute but not super scary. Suddenly they become a lot scarier when if you decide to press jab or something and he decides to just risk one of these, you take a ton of damage.
That would be annoying, yeah.
Damage. I like, my favorite thing is you're like, we're very, you know, conservative with our changes, and you're like, Jago murders you if you get hit by DP. That is really funny.
Not all of them are the most conservative changes, but you know, the goal was to
Exacto.
compress the top characters down a
Desgraciado.
little and the bottom characters up a little. You know how it
Mhm.
goes. This was an interesting one with our test group as well, our NDA test group. And I'm sure they'll tell you after this is over, but I pitched this change to them and they were all horrified. And I was like, just let me put it in tomorrow and see how it feels. Let's just try it for a week, and if we hate it, we'll take it out. And they came around on it like almost instantly. They were like, yeah, this is actually super fun and cool, and it really works for the character.
Diablo.
and
Para un
gives him
solo
some
hit que te dé
identity that
tan
he kinda
duro.
needed, so.
That's
yeah.
a lot of
I
damage
was
though.
gonna say I'm very scared of like counter hit DP instinct. That sounds like a bad
Yeah.
time. Yeah,
But you
that
need
seems-
first hit for all that big damage, so it's not
Yeah,
too
yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
last- yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that seems really good for Jago. His walk speed, I think, is like so nice too. I think the matches where he has to walk you down, where his screen control is just not good, and doing wind kick from full screen, you just die. Like those kinds of matchups, I think the walk speed will really help.
Exactly. So the last change for Jago is we made the first active frame of the shadow wind kick reach a little lower. And we also made the push box taller for the first 4 frames. This is a little nitty gritty, but there were some cases where he could shadow counter someone who was low profiling and he would just sail right over him. And this prevents most of those cases. There are still some cases where a character is side switching with him and he'll still miss, but this stops some of the cases where the person was like low profiling.
Pero, ok,
So,
y si es
Are we having a frame rate problem?
¿Cómo que se
Yeah,
llama?
sure. Let me kill my feed real quick.
Si era lo de...
And then reopen it. That fixes everything.
Yeah.
Porque Riptor
It has been
tiene
running for a
el
while.
crouching
Yeah, that also
stance.
looks good for me. So.
Que
I'm
si
Try the 720.
Jago
See how it looks.
se supone que lo pase. So,
All right. Let me know.
sorry por los anuncios, gente.
We good, Derek?
Fine.
Are we good? Am I back? Okay. Yeah, I think it booted me for a second. Looking good? Looking clean again?
Lo más que puedes.
I'm missing like everybody on the stream here. Okay. I don't have Sajam or James on the feed anymore. Oh, there they are. They're
Oh,
coming
hi.
back. All right. I must have had an internet hiccup or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Okay, cool.
Hasta ellos
Well,
que
we're good,
tienen
yeah?
chavos, ¿sabes?
I love that the game freezes for like a full second when you do the DP. The hit stop is unreal.
Yeah, it's pretty juicy.
Gracias, papá.
I'm a big fan. You can feel it in your chest when that hits you.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. That is it for Mr. Jago.
Ok.
Moving on.
Okay. I like those changes. The walk speed, especially. I'm a walk speed enthusiast. That's like the best buff I could get. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm all about it.
All right, so now I'm using my gamepad to play Glacius. We got some changes for Glacius here. We reduced the frame advantage after a successful combo breaker to 0. Used to be +4. He used to have the most advantage off of a combo breaker in the game.
What?
And it also left you at a distance where he could kind of just do this, and because he was +4, that was tough to deal with. So this change should make
Pero
that situation feel a
eso
lot
es lo
more
que hace a
manageable
Glacius,
after a combo
Glacius,
breaker
though.
from Glacius.
Mhm.
I guess I'll try to demo that. I'm gonna hold up on both. Look at that. They're about even. Pretty good. All right. We also reduced the pushback on block from the light, medium, and heavy cold shoulder attacks, so their frame data actually matters. These are -3, -5, and -8 on block, which remains unchanged. But previously, Glacius could be so far out of range that most characters couldn't punish him, even if he was very negative. So let's see what that looks like. That's the heavy. It's the light. It's the medium. He's very in there, so you can actually get punishes on this guy now. That's a huge change for Glacius. They're going to have to be a lot more thoughtful with this move, cover it with hail a lot more often to make sure that they have some insurance behind them. But there is kind of a bonus to this, where if you make somebody block this and then you go Shadow Hail, you can actually get a true block string with it, which wasn't true before. If they're standing,
Okay.
if they're crouching, I think they can still wiggle out. But
Ok.
kind of a big deal for Glacius to not be able to just throw that out quite as often. And then last up for Glacius, we added 4 frames of recovery time on whiff and block to the Instinct Teleport Puddle Punch. It's now -16 on block, used to be -12. All combos on hit are the same, the manual cancel window hasn't changed, so it feels exactly like it used to. The difference is if somebody jumps it or blocks it, they're gonna have a bit more time to hit him and maybe deal with the armor.
¿Cómo él hace
Some
eso?
characters like Arbiter could block that
Tiene
from
un
range where
control
they
y
couldn't
un
really get a
AK
fierce
para
or anything
hacerle
like that to
eso.
even deal with the armor, so that helps as well in that matchup. And yeah, that's it for Glacius.
Okay. Yeah, that seems about right. The whiff on Puddle Punch, yeah, I mean, it was very often that you would just like jump and then not be there, and then he would just be like, I don't care, and then just smoke you with armor. So you're like, well,
Thunder.
Yep.
¿Quién viene con Thunder?
Next up, we're gonna put Thunder and Sadira on the screen.
Sadira. Ok. Que trae
All right.
Spider
So
Woman.
for Thunder, this is kind of a big one. We limited the time window in which a follow-up has to be chosen after all versions of Sammamish. So visually, once Thunder's feet start to drop below Jago's head, Sadira works for this. She's about the same height as him. Follow-ups will no longer be possible. So you used to be able to do these up to 1 frame before you touch the floor. So check out my input display over on the left. You can see when I'm pressing the buttons, right? If I do the Sammamish and I fall below her head and I hit that button, nothing happens. I have to do it much earlier than that. Right? But if you hit it above the head, you know, you can still get out whatever follow-ups you want to get out. So you have to commit to these a bit earlier than you did before. And that kind of gets rid of some of the most frustrating nonsense that Thunder was kind of doing to people. Which is just kind of throwing this out, abusing the high priority and projectile invulnerability, and then hitting a follow-up so low to the ground that it was so hard to deal with his choices no matter what they were. So huge change for Thunder.
Yeah, huge, yeah.
So
we also added 5 additional frames of recovery time to landing after Sammamish, Surprise Knee, or Dropkick. So that doesn't apply to Skyfall, but if you just land from a Sammamish, or you land from Dropkick or Surprise Knee, you use 5 more frames of recovery before you can block or jump right there as well. So players are going to be able to probably, in most cases, react to which choice he makes because of when he has to make it, and be able to punish him if he's making really bad guesses with this move. So again, huge change for Thunder.
Yes.
This would be a huge nerf overall for him if we didn't add a couple buffs back in, which we wanted to do, because again, the goal of this change was to just reduce one of those frustrating aspects, not to necessarily nerf the character. And you'll see a couple of those in the change list as well. So what we did was we increased his forward and backward walk speeds by 20% to compensate for this stuff and help him play a more strong grounded game with his strong set of normals and specials. So this dude is moving pretty fast now. Huge.
Se nota la diferencia, créanme.
And he has some incredible buttons to press. All kinds of great ranges on these. This is really going to help him play the footsies game, play the ground game, keep control of the match. And then the last thing we did for him to compensate was we shortened the recovery time on Call of Sky, where you give the Crow's buff to yourself by 5 frames. So Lightning still hits on the same frame, but it has 5 frames less recovery, so you can get that buff on yourself a little bit more easily in matches where an opponent can quickly throw themselves across the screen and punish you. Helps a lot.
Okay.
That's it for Thunder.
Man, those are great changes. I was gonna say too, the one thing about the walk speed is like walking up and doing DP to like beat stuff. Sammamish is probably much easier too, right? Because you're already walking forward, so gives you that extra little range to like walk in and then get like the tip reach of it where it's hard to walk away from it. So
that
might also help a bit too.
Especially if people are poking with mids and like from this range, right?
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, I think everybody knows that when Thunder just is doing Sammamish over and over in neutral, like it sucks, right? You're just like, dude, this sucks. Like I'm just getting help. Like so.
Exactly.
I'm happy that the game plan is moving slightly away from that and towards stuff about him that's more fun to deal with.
Like I said, the goal of the changes a lot is to kind of take some of those frustrators and sand them down a little bit. Make the characters a little bit more fun to fight against, but still keep them strong. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Sadira. We fixed a bug that allowed her to cancel her, to call her web instinct projectiles during a combo breaker. So she could do a combo breaker, call the web projectiles, and she could actually get pressure off a combo breaker, which just isn't in the spirit of the game. So we just got rid of that ability. Small thing. But we did want to give her a buff. We increased Sadira's forward and backward walk speeds by 20%. Now, as you know, percents are a larger number on a character that was already kind of fast, so she is really cruising. She's among the fastest ground characters in the game now. Really fast.
She's so fast.
She's really fast, but she had like this problem before where her jumping is actually really fast as well, and it was much faster than her walking. So you would see this. And what we made this change basically so that when Sadira players don't want to jump around like an unhinged maniac, they can actually use her great grounded buttons and, you know, keep control of the game, get in position for those really nice anti-airs. This one especially, right? This leads to a lot of party. And I think it really just helps the character a lot if the Sadira player can stop holding up. So we'll see how well that goes for the Sadira community.
Yeah, you're like not gonna. Sadira players are gonna be like, dude, we got no buffs. They're gonna be playing for like 3 weeks and be like, did this character get a single change?
Yeah, there are some players who do play a more grounded Sadira, and I think those players are going to make the character look really
Jesus, se
scary.
mueve estúpidamente rápido, gente.
So
No
she's
se lo voy a
already pretty
negar.
good.
Yeah.
All right,
nice.
let's
Walk
keep it
through
moving.
Oh, my
Let's
girl
check out
Orchid.
And let's check out Spinal.
Okay.
I'm very interested.
All right, so for Orchid, let me turn Spinal on human real quick. She's got quite a few changes actually, so this will take a minute. But we fixed the bug that allowed her to cancel her ground combo breaker into Shadow Uppercut. I can't demo it obviously because it's gone, but she had this. I mean, it was wild. She could combo break you, cancel into Shadow Uppercut. You wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Lots of damage. It's just not in the spirit of the game. That was one of the changes I was most scared to physically do because I was like, okay, this is either going to be like a week's worth of the most complicated, risky work I've ever done, or I'm going to delete one line of code and it's going to be fine. It was the second one. I deleted one line of code and this was fixed. So yay, got lucky.
Yeah, I know everybody wanted this fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad that that's gone. We also fixed the same bug that Sadira had, where she could call her Jaguars during a combo breaker and get pressure off of combo breakers. Again, not really in the spirit of the game, so we wiped that away.
Okay.
But on to the Orchid improvements, because this is a character that really hasn't put up a lot of results in the last 5 years. And she's really cool, so we wanted to give her some stuff and see how it goes.
Please.
First up, we did some instinct mode improvements. The Jaguars now deal an additional 15 frames of hit stun to grounded opponents. So let's see how that looks like. Much longer hit stun. That linked, even that slow. That really helps her kind of put together a combo, which is great.
Okay. Okay.
The Jaguars now launch airborne opponents into a better position for a juggle, which is really nice. And they have a longer hitbox. So it used to be they only had kind of a hitbox on the front legs, and now it's all the way to the Jaguar's butt. So if you jump over them and land on the butt area, you'll actually get hit.
Ya era hora.
Makes them a little bit more threatening, and all that stuff. So
Ya era hora,
her
sí,
instinct functions pretty similarly to like Rash's and Sadira's, but it was just like a lot harder for her to get the same kinds of rewards off of this as them. So I think this change really helps her with a little bit of lab time, find some really interesting things, like especially if you build in the grenade to some of these setups, to get some really interesting combos and resets going.
Okay.
Pretty cool change.
Actually, yeah.
Next up, we got some adjustments to the knee slide.
Knee slide?
Light knee slide is now -2 on block. Used to be 5. That's this one. It used to be -5. Now it's -2.
Okay.
The medium slide now travels farther and faster.
Whoa.
Nice.
It was about as far as the heavy one used to. And it now has 7 additional frames of recovery time and 5 additional frames of startup before it starts moving, because it moves so quickly.
Okay,
-8 on
fair.
block, now used to be -7. And here's where we get a little wild. This is not a conservative change. The heavy slide now travels much farther and faster.
Oh.
Yeah. It has 10 additional frames of
Ya
startup
lo
before it
full
starts
screen,
moving.
en
So you can see
serio.
she kind of holds for a second before she starts sliding. It doesn't even combo off some of these buttons anymore. I still have counter hits on, and that still didn't combo. So it's much slower, you can tell. It has 22 additional frames of recovery on whiff, so that if people jump it, they can actually hit her.
Okay.
And it's -13 on block. It used to be -10. So the reasoning for this, a lot of characters on the roster have similar low-hitting, sliding, kick special moves, and upon review, it was pretty clear that Orchid's was the worst of the bunch by a lot. These improvements should help in a lot of various aspects of Orchid's game plan. In fact, our first pass at updating these helped so much that we had to go back and give them slower startup and more recovery on whiff and block that I just demoed to make sure that they didn't run away with the game, because the first version of this was wild.
Okay, okay.
Test group will tell you that.
Déjame ponerle
it's wild.
esto. La pantalla.
Yeah.
Vamos a
I mean,
ver.
I totally believe it. These are nice though. I think it's a good assessment that like she
No
had
la
a lot
tengo
of similar
pendiente,
moves to
gente,
other
para
characters, but they
ustedes.
just
Para cuando
didn't feel
vayamos a
as
jugar
good.
el Killer
Yeah, it's just like the
Instinct.
worst version of slide, right?
Yeah, and like her instinct too. There's a lot of, as you mentioned, there's other instincts that kind of serve the same purpose. So it's good to see a pass on it.
Yeah, and she's a cool character, so we'd love to see more of her, right? One
Ella
other
se
change we
movía
gave her,
rápido.
this is a really nice one. We adjusted the startup of the shadow knee slide. That's this guy right here, so that it's immune to projectiles on frame 0. It used to be frame 2. So she was one of the only characters in the game who, if she had a meaty projectile on her, she actually couldn't use her projectile invincible move to get through it. So that's now fixed, which is very nice.
Okay.
And we fixed a couple counter hit issues on her. Like I said, we're not going to go over those fully on this stream, but that is it for Orchid. Not too bad. All right.
Yeah, those are great.
So
Got it, I
Spinal,
like it.
very short list for Spinal. We increased his forward walk speed by 20%.
Más rápido Spinal. Más rápido
His
Spinal.
back walk speed's increased by 10%.
Pero el
These are
20
going to help Spinal find a better spacing and more matchups to land those crucial anti-airs and pokes to get his game started. Because he has a pretty good set of moves. It's just, he was so slow, it was really hard for him to get into position. And when you feel this forward walk, you're going to be like, oh wow.
Y cuando
that-
hace
I mean, you can
el
see he's got
cogido,
style.
coge más rápido
Yeah,
también.
pretty big difference. And that's it for Spinal.
Nice.
Ya, eso es lo
That
que
seems
decía
about
eso era.
Yeah, that's cool though. I mean, I think he's not a character that walks a ton, but when he does walk, having that extra little bit of juice is pretty nice.
It did very nice.
You know, all
Fulgor?
his
Alright.
old creaky bones.
Yeah.
Fulgor?
We are moving on to Fulgor, the most changed character in the history of this game by a lot, probably, right?
Y Maya, ya es otro
Fulgor.
personaje que me ha gustado.
All right. So Fulgor is a tricky beast. He's got this special custom meter that he relies on. He can do everything. You know, he's been proven to be a pretty ridiculous character time and
Entonces
time
no,
again.
honestly, ya
No matter how we seem to adjust him. So here's another
Él era
attempt at
bueno,
that.
though.
Let's see how it goes. So Blade Dash.
Para mí,
this move,
pa mí
right? This guy.
Cyberwolf y Riptor.
We made some adjustments to that. We've adjusted the block stun on all the normal uncharged versions of the Blade Dash to make them more negative. They used to be -2, -3, and -4. Now they're -4, -6, and -8 for light, medium, and heavy. So that's a pretty big change. I need to put Maya on playable real quick. There we go. So we block with her, and then two-hand this, do one of these, and then you can actually get punished. Look at that. That's neat. All
Okay.
right, so moving on. This is kind of a burf. This is a nerf and a buff. So bear with me until I get through this whole section on this move because there's a lot going on here. Fulgor can now pip cancel the Blade Dash on whiff or block into any of the following special moves: Energy Bolt, Eye Laser, Plasma Port, Plasma Slice. Previously, he could only do Plasma Slice and only on whiff. So even if you blocked this, you wouldn't be able to do Plasma Slice or anything like that.
Mhm.
So
Well-
Blade Dash is a powerful tool that lets Fulgor close in without much risk. To adjust this, what we really wanted to try and what our test group really was interested in was making it more negative on block and forcing Fulgor to use his pips to do cancels to cover himself, which I love the idea of. But when we started investigating it, we were like, oh, he's only allowed to do this and only on whiff. So we have to open up these options to make this plan work. So that's what we did. We opened up these options. The result of this has weakened one of Fulgor's best options in neutral, but it's increased the strength of his instinct mode. So we've opted to pull back on Fulgor in various other ways to compensate and ensure he ends up a bit weaker overall. You know, I
Okay.
think you'll want to test this one in the lab on your stream a little bit later, but what you'll find, and this is very hard for me to do with two controllers with one dude, but if he's doing this and he's canceling into things, there is a gap, right? And you're going to be able to press your 5-frame button in there in almost every case, except for if he risks an uppercut. So he's got to kind of convince you to calm down in most cases, or he has to charge up a Blade Dash first so that he can get a better frame advantage before he does the cancel. It's not quite as scary as it sounds, but it does take a little bit of bravery, I guess, to know that you should be pressing a button after you block that most of the time now.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Also,
Sure.
yeah, this move is pretty wild for a character who has movement and fireballs and everything like he had before. I mean, yeah, him just flying around the screen with that move whenever he wanted and just buffering like a linker or auto double for free and then just escaping after was really
Yep.
strong.
So the next change, I think the rest of these are nerfs. Heavy Eye Laser now deals 20 kV instead of 10, and that's because our changes gave him a new looping combo, which is, you know, cancel this into that, and then cancel that into that. Oops, cancel that. Into that. So it's like that. And you can just keep hitting lasers, right? You can get 5 of those before
Okay.
the combo breaks. Used to be, you know, before we made that change, 10, which was it's a lot to spend for not a lot of damage, but an instinct, it was a little scary because of how his instinct works. So we had to make that change. We also made some adjustments to his instinct mode because it became more powerful thanks to these Blade Dash changes. So to combat this, we made it so that his instinct mode spends a little bit of its remaining time every time he uses a free pip cancel. So he's going to lose 5 points for each free cancel, with the exception of Energy Bolts 2 and 3, which only cost 2 points. So for context, the instinct meter is 250 points long. You lose 16.6 points per second, resulting in a 15-second duration. So watch Fulgor's instinct meter here. I'm going to throw the multiple fireballs. You can see little chunks of the instinct time being taken away. And I can
Oh.
do some of these other cancels and you can see more chunks of the instinct
okay.
time are getting taken away every time he does that. So if the Fulgore player goes absolutely wild in this mode, kind of similar to Tusk's Berserker cancels, you can probably expect like an 11 or 12 second instinct mode instead of a 15-second one, which makes a massive difference.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
Adam.
Yes.
Let's give you a quick update from the chat. It's not a question. I just want to talk about the journey that you've taken them on. I've watched chat go from no, yes. Some people found Jesus. Oh God.
It's a sum of all parts, right? You got to wait till you hear it all.
And I think you've taken them on the journey to happiness. Some people are going to be very happy. I think some people are still a little distressed. I see a what did they do here and there. Anyway, very good update. This Fulgore one did not disappoint.
Yeah, you guys will definitely have to see how you feel once you play it. You know, snap judgments are not your friend. Play it for a week, go into the lab, see how you feel after that. It'll all gel together, or it won't, and you'll tell us, and then maybe we'll adjust it again. Who knows? Let's keep going. We got more nerfs for
Están
Fulgore.
abiertos para
More nerfs for Fulgore. I do. All right, so we made some adjustments to the light and medium eye lasers.
Está abierto para más
Both
update.
the light and medium
Eso está
eye lasers
cabrón.
have had their hit stop and block stop time increased from 6 frames to 15 frames. This results in a much more legible and reactable freeze frame when blocking each hit. See how much chunkier that is? It used to be like pew pew, and now it's pew pew. Medium eye laser remains -3 on block, but light eye laser is now -6 on block, which means it is punishable by jabs and stuff like that if you don't space it right. There you go, punishable. So the previous versions of these were powerful pressure tools that hit low, and as a bonus, were very hard to shadow counter due to their short hit stop and Fulgore's ability to mix between 1 or 2 hits. So we've made these changes to give these moves a bit more identity and help opponents fight against them.
Okay.
So now Fulgore players are choosing between a single hit low that's punishable when blocked, or a 2-hit low that's safe on block, but can be more easily shadow countered on reaction. So let's see if I can.
¿Sabes qué? Lo voy a poner esto
Pretty
porque
easy to shadow counter that on reaction.
para que vean bien.
Definitely
Ahí.
a big change for Fulgore players. They're going to have to rethink the use of that move a little bit to make sure that they can't just get in your face and let it rip over and over again. So if you were worried about him coming in with the drill and then shooting lasers at your feet and you just being overwhelmed, that's not going to be nearly as overwhelming as you might have thought once you get this into practice.
Nice.
But that's not all. We also added 6 additional frames of recovery time to the plasma port, the teleport, before Fulgore is allowed to take another action. So that may not sound like a lot, but in practice, it actually makes punishing teleports in neutral like much more reasonable, reduces the speed of some of his nastiest mix-ups. Some of his mix-ups where he got 2 teleports, he should only get 1 now. If you see that animation, you can do like even a medium button, and it's more likely to come out the correct direction as well. Because a lot of times, because of the timing of the old version, you would try to press the button to punish, you would swing the wrong way and he would appear behind you, right? And your button's much more likely to come out the correct way right now. That doesn't mean he still won't be a menace with these. He's still gonna throw fireballs and kind of mix in the teleports to cover them and do all kinds of nasty stuff. But definitely,
Obviously.
Again, a lot more thoughtful version of the move than we previously had.
Yeah, that is huge. 6 frames of that is huge for sure. That's a big one.
Yeah. We also noticed that Fulgore's hit stun, block stun, and counter hit stun values on his energy bolt projectiles, that's these guys right here, were very inconsistent. So we did a pass to normalize them, but weaken them a bit overall. Like the light ones had more hit stun than the heavy ones, but the medium ones had like the least. It just didn't make sense. So we just went through and gave them a single set of values. You'll see those values in the full patch notes, but they're a little bit worse than they were. All the combos that he used to have involving them still work as far as I've been able to tell. I think Nikki helped me figure that out as well. So I'm confident that that's a good change.
Okay.
We also added 4 additional frames of hit stop and block stop to the first hit of Double Claw to make that a little bit easier to shadow counter as well. It's one of the harder command normals to shadow counter. I don't know if you can feel those 4 frames over the stream, but it's a small change, but an effective one, I think.
Okay.
We also fixed a bug that was exclusive to Fulgore and Kilgore, where his shadow counter had 7 less frames of catch time, so like 7 less frames of parry time, and 10 less frames of recovery time. So we normalized those. Yeah, and there was a counter hit issue we fixed as well. But I fully expect Fulgore to still be, like a top 5 character after all this. You're just gonna have to play a bit more thoughtfully, and he's honestly a very good character at doing that. He has pretty good buttons and a good set of neutral tools. It's just the kind of more hog wild style of Fulgore is probably a little less less something you'll want to consider.
Yeah, a little less barbaric. But yeah, I mean his tool set is so good that it's like he has everything you'd want and more in a character, you know? Like I think that's what draws people to him. He's so fun because of that. So I think the new cancels will help make up some ground there. Like people will be excited to mess with that.
Yeah, people will still lose to Nikki and be in shambles. So
Uh-huh.
we'll see how it goes. All right, so next up, there's one little change we did for TJ Combo, a bug fix I just wanted to mention. He used to not be able to cancel a kick manual into Shadow Vortex, like an oddly specific thing. We found a weird line of code in there that nobody knows where it came from that strictly prevented that for some reason.
Okay.
So we removed it, and that was fixed. So just a small change for TJ folks. Little combo you weren't able to do before, you can now do. But let's move on to Maya. One change for Maya. You know I'm a Dagger Assault fan, Steve. The Dagger Assault no longer ends if Maya gets hit, but it will still end if she gets knocked down. So let's take a look. We need to build up some pips. And then we will go ahead and land the Dagger Assault. And then we punch her, and it's still hitting me. Oh no, this is horrible. But if I knock her down, it will end immediately. So if you throw her or knock her down, it will end immediately. Dagger Assault's a lot of fun. We had to design it very conservatively to avoid being a total nightmare for opponents. This change is going to make it a bit easier to use without tipping the scales too much. I think one of the most important things to remember here is that she has no high-low mix-up except for this overhead. And this overhead actually puts her in the air. So if you hit her out of this, she falls down, even with a jab. So if she wants to do any type of mix-up to you other than a strike throw while you're blocking these, she's either going to have to jump and, do like an empty low or something, or she's going to have to do one of these and put herself in a position where she can get jabbed out, which means she falls, and then the daggers fall out as well. I don't know how big a change this is in practice. I think it's fairly minor in most matchups. It'll really depend on what kind of really tight setups Maya players are able to develop for this. But it does add a lot of fun to the move and remove some of the risk of it. I think it was one of the riskier things to do with Maya if you didn't have instinct to immediately call those daggers back. So I do expect to see Maya players get a little bit more mileage out of this, which is great. It's what we want.
Okay. Maya's cool though.
All right, moving on. I have an omen change that I'm not going to demonstrate. I'm just going to read it.
Right.
We reduced Omen's meter gain on all of his enders except his meter type ender, which is the Rashakuken. So he remains the king of meter gain, but it ended up feeling a bit too snowbally to let Omen build so much meter off of his most damaging ender types. This change should force Omen players who need meter to actually use the meter ender, which should in turn lower his overall damage and threat output.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's the nice thing about having 17 enders that are all battery enders, huh? It's like, all right, cool.
Just do whichever one you want. You're going to have plenty of meter, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Acá no hay área. Vamos a ver qué
He still
hicieron.
builds good meter on those enders. It's just way less than before.
Yeah, Omen was wild, so.
Yes. All right, it's time to look at Aghanos.
Okay.
We reduced the amount of hit stun inflicted by medium and shadow versions of Natural Disaster to prevent them from comboing directly into Shadow Payload Assault. So let's take a look. I'll do the medium one, and then I'll go into Shadow Payload Assault, and I can, well, that didn't combo, but I can't block because I forgot to put it on human controls. There we go. Let's try that again. Take two. Here we go. She got hit, but she's able to block, right? That's not a true thing anymore. And it's the same with the shadow version. Whoops. That used to be a true combo. That's no longer a true combo as well.
Nice.
Oh, that's a
This is going to
nerf.
make confirming into Aghanos' most damaging unbreakable combos way less common and require him to give you at least one breakable window in most of those cases before going into them. So he'll have to do those moves, then manual into like a heavy, and then do it, which is a pretty big deal. You will still be able to combo directly into Shadow Payload Assault if the Shadow Natural Disaster recaptures. Let's see if I can actually do that here.
Okay. Yeah, that makes
Because
sense.
that recapture animation is so long, you'll still be able to get it in that case, but in all other cases, you won't be able to get it.
Nice, okay.
All right, we reduced the wall crash damage on Aghanos to 48. It used to be 60. Now these values are going to look wild because Arya doesn't heal potential damage. She has way less health than other characters. But you have to trust me, this does less damage, a lot less damage, like 25% less than before.
Yeah,
we also reduced the damage per hit from Heavy Payload Assault, that's this guy right here, to 2 per hit. It used to be 8. And that sounds more drastic than it is, but that's because of how many hits it does and the way scaling works in the game. So it still adds a significant amount of damage to
Okay.
unbreakable wall crash setups, just a bit less than before. So let's see if I can do one of these combos here. Something like that. No, I need to do Stomp Walk, right? The damage values are going to look nuts on Arya, but
Yeah. She has a million potential damage already.
yeah. I couldn't fit the jump back there. I'm not going to demo this too many times because I haven't played in a while. Yeah, I missed the follow-up, but it does a lot less. I'm going to stop doing that demo now.
Yeah, I think hitting the unbreakable or harder breakable stuff makes a lot of sense. That's like kind of the most frustrating thing to deal with now.
Yeah. Speaking of frustrating things, this move. We added 7 frames of stop time when you block this. The projectile part specifically, to make it a little bit more clear when it's your turn to press a button. And actually, I think Arya is one of the characters who can punish this from lots of ranges. Whoops, I'm trying to do the two-hand version of this. Oh, I can't get it. Oh well. But yeah, there's a bit more time there, so it's more clear when it's your turn, which is very nice.
Okay.
This is a really big one for Aghanos as well. We reduced the block stun time on a few of his jumping attacks so that if they hit on the way up, they're more negative and sometimes punishable. So jumping hard punch, if you hit this on the way up, like that, you actually may get hit.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
And it's the same with jumping hard kick. If you hit this on the way up, spacing was bad there. You might get punished or hit on that as well. So you're gonna have to hit those buttons a little later if you want to get that same advantage you used to have. Press it more, at the peak, which is a pretty big change because Aghanos is very hard to anti-air because he can put those buttons out on the way up in a lot of cases. And in this case, if you do that, you're going to be in trouble. We also adjusted the amount of pushback opponents receive when blocking Peacemaker-related attacks, so you won't be sliding full screen anymore. Let's take a look at that as well. So you can see this used to just like really send people sliding, and now they don't slide so much anymore. It's a big change, especially the projectile one used to really fling people back.
Wow. That's so different.
Big change.
Yeah,
and that is it for Aghanos. He can be really frustrating to fight against, and we always intended for him to be a bit weaker and only shine in the hands of specialist players. Over time, these specialist players have taken Aghanos so far that there's a solid argument for Aghanos being one of the top 5 strongest characters in the game. With many of the game's other strongest characters getting a little weaker, we didn't want to end up in a situation where Aghanos was the undisputed best, so hopefully these changes make fighting against him feel a little bit more fun and reasonable.
Sí. Prácticamente.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have a quick prediction from Flash,
Sure.
one of our Saberwolf players. Saberwolf is going to destroy Aghanos.
We'll see. We'll have to see how it goes. I did see.
I'm excited about that because when you showed me these changes, I was very happy because I get just mangled by the beat stick in particular by Aghanos. So I'm really happy.
It'd be really hard to get in.
Yeah, but I think your prediction on the long tail on this is, I think we'll see that. Those specialists, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Flash may be in trouble when some of these guys show up with these specialized Aghanoses.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still going to be top 5 or not. It's hard for me to say. I'm not even sure I agree he was top 5 before, but some people thought so, and that's interesting.
I was going to say, Latalis seems very, very hype about his potential still in the chat. Like, yeah. It's still going to be very strong.
Looks like the stream's chopping out again. Should I reset it? Derek, what do you think?
Are we good? Continue, man.
Okay. Let me just refresh it real quick. Can't hurt.
Para refrescarlo otra vez.
It's purple and gold. Yeah. Aghanos is, I think hitting the unbreakable stuff makes a lot of sense. But especially, we haven't seen nerfs to or changes rather to the other strong characters. Like Arya's on the screen, and you guys know who else is coming later down the line. So I'm very curious to see the other changes.
Yeah. Cool. I lost your feed on my Discord side. Let me just fix my side real quick. Okay, cool. All right, back to it. Sorry about that, folks. All right, for Cinder, I just have one small change for fixing some of his frame data on counter hits with his punch buttons. They were a little messy, so Those do the proper amount on counter hit now as well. And let's talk about Arya. We reduced the damage on all of Arya's enders by 1 to 2 points per hit. It's not a huge dramatic change, but she's widely regarded as the hardest character to break, so we felt this was fair. This change does not affect her shadow enders or body swap enders. So we'll just take a look. 26% for a level 3 there. Let's do a level 4.
Han mencionado
Launch render, 36%. So it
¿Cómo que se llama este hombre? Jago tiene el most carries uppercut, counter uppercut del juego so far. Le han subido la velocidad a varios de los personajes. Ha ganado da más suave ahora. A varios no le hicieron muchos cambios, solamente una que otro tweak.
A lot riskier, and I believe this applies to a
¿Cómo
lot of
estás,
the
Javi?
versions of the move as
Bueno,
well.
ahorita por ahí, brother.
Back as far. So these moves are just quite a bit more risky. Yeah,
Nice.
it's a good change.
Yeah, a lot of the moves got stuff like this, right? So
Yeah.
Qué bueno, qué bueno.
Another one like that, her jumping medium kick also got adjusted. We reduced the distance she pushes herself away from you, but we increased the vertical distance, so she bounces up a lot higher after doing this move. And that's going to leave her in a precarious position if she's not smart about how she uses this, or waits till she gets a little bit lower in order to make sure there's enough stun to cover her. So a lot easier move to deal with now as well.
Orchid le hicieron un buff bastante bueno.
Drone assist calls. The drone assist calls now leave the drones punishable for 30 frames longer than before. So let's check that out real quick. We got the blade drone. Let's do the base one first. So that's out there for quite a bit longer, you can tell. Quite a bit of time to smack
Sí,
it.
le hicieron un par de buff. Le hicieron un par de
And
buff.
the blade drone. Lots of time to smack that as well. Big change. And then a really big one is the booster drone, actually. This one goes behind you in a lot of cases. So you would block this one, and it would end up behind you, like that. And then it would fully recover, and then fly home. And while it was flying home, it was invincible. So what we did about this one was we made it so that when it's flying home, it's not invincible. You can actually tag it on the way home.
Gotcha.
Huge change.
De esto
Yeah, these are
le
big. I
hicieron
mean,
un buen
I'm
buff.
guessing it slows down how fast you can call the assists, right? Because there's extra recovery on them.
Right, it's 30 frames longer before they get home before she can call them again. So
Right.
big change for her. She's gonna have to work quite a bit harder to cover the drones. But as a small burf, which is a buff and a nerf at the same time, we made her sword drone launch you quite a bit higher. And that's because after we made the change, before we made this launch higher, it was punishable on hit. The sword would launch you, you would fall, get up, and then punch the sword before it recovered, which just felt really bad for the Arya player. But because of this, it actually opened up some nice new juggle combos for her that I'm looking forward to seeing players explore. I don't have any good ones, but you get the idea, right? You can get some cool new stuff going off of that, which is nice.
Cool.
So yeah, Arya's gonna have to work harder to cover her assist calls.
A Fulgor lo
and to use the assist
nerfearon
calls to cover herself.
y lo
Her looping
bufearon en
pressure will
algunas
loop a little
cosas
more
también.
slowly, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Sí, nuevos
All
juggles,
right, next
ya tú
up,
sabes.
her medium and heavy shotgun blitz moves. That's these guys. They used to low crush on frame 1. Now the medium one low crush is on 5, and the heavy on frame 4. So the light one was always 6, so now they go 6, 5, 4. It just seemed way too powerful to have such a difficult to punish move work as a low crush so quickly, and this adjustment's going to weaken Arya's defense against lows considerably. Next up, another adjustment for the shotgun blitz special moves. We added more hit stop on block to the first hit of these. So they used to be 10 across the board. Now it's 14, 16, 18 on light, medium, heavy. Despite being 2 hits, this move has been notoriously hard to shadow counter compared to other similar moves. So now it's a bit easier on the light version. It gets even easier if she uses heavy ones. So here's the light one, medium, and heavy. So quite easy to shadow counter the heavy one on reaction now compared to before, which was very, very difficult.
Yeah.
That's
a great
also a
change.
huge change for her.
Eso es bueno.
This move still is very low whiff recovery. She's
Aprender
still going to
el-
use it a lot, so just jump in
Yep.
and close some
Exacto.
distance behind an assist or whatever.
Pero güey, ahí está el señor Havoc TV. Yo creo que yo tengo esto aquí.
Against people who are
Bueno,
paying
que sí.
attention and have enough meter to shadow counter, which is great.
Yeah, doing shotgun 700 times in a row.
Javi,
back
¿cuándo
to
tú,
shotgun,
tú
back to-
regresas?
It seems
Yeah, exactly.
much more manageable. Yeah.
Ella era bien
Yeah.
difícil para castigarse.
So Arya is meant to be a powerful character. You know, she carries some of the highest risk in the entire game. If she loses body, she loses options permanently, and matches can snowball against her really harshly. So over time, the strongest Arya players have proven that mitigating this weakness is not only quite possible, but it can leave opponents feeling like they don't have any answers at all. The above changes, they're going to leave Arya in a very strong position, which is intended, but she'll need to play a bit more thoughtfully to not leave herself open or her drones open to counterattack. So I do expect her to still be up there in the rankings, but
Nice.
require more thought and more patience.
Yeah, seems right to me. She's definitely a character that needed a little tuning.
By the way,
A little more, like,
so far los updates
Yeah.
me han gustado.
Was it 720? Want me to switch to 1080?
Que han dado.
Oh yeah, the in-game is 1080, yeah.
¿Cómo te digo?
Okay.
Killer Instinct va a
Moving
regresar
on,
al
we
canal,
got
so tú sabes que tú
Kim.
estás más que invitado
Kim
para
Will.
jugar de nuevo.
And Tush.
By the way, por eso fue que hice este.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
No,
I
no,
want to give
personaje
your voice
nuevo.
a break for a second, right before you get into this flow. Let me just. There's been a lot of questions around the additions and stuff because a lot of people came in late, or maybe I just didn't go through it clear enough. But
Un
a
balance
really
patch.
great question came in. What about Game Pass KI? And I just want to just clarify. Hey, if you already have KI via Game Pass, the edition is just getting swapped out to Anniversary Edition. So you'll have it if you already have Game Pass. And then, all these balance updates are all free in the base game of KI. So there's no world where the balance updates aren't in whatever version you're playing. So anyway, I just wanted to interrupt with that really quick to alleviate any concerns about Game Pass.
I appreciate it. It gave me time to take off that shirt. I was getting way too hot.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to
Anyway,
Kim Wu. So
Javi, por eso mismo
because,
también
Sonic Dolphins'
hice
performances with
este
Kim Wu,
overlay
we
en
decided to nerf this
específico
character into the
para
ground.
los días de que hay.
I'm
Se
absolutely kidding. She
regresan
got
de
all
nuevo.
buffs. All right. So we increased Kim's forward and backward walk speeds by 15%. She was already pretty fast, so she's very nimble now, which I think suits kind of the small character aspect of her. This is going to help her play grounded footsies with the best.
Mira, Javi.
She has some really good buttons as well, especially these.
Javi
these
estaba
ones,
entrenando con
medium
Kim
punch,
Wu la
medium
última
kick,
vez.
and heavy kick, really great buttons. We've also increased her jump gravity to make her jump arc a bit less floaty. This makes her very strong set of jumping attacks much more threatening, but if you had any safe jump timings in the past, you may have to rethink them. I mentioned that to Sonic Dolphin and he laughed. See the safe jumps? Ha! I guess this character didn't have any, so... her jump is Jago's jump now. It's basically the same gravity as Jago's jump. So it's not one of the best jumps in the game. It's pretty middle of the road, but she's not so floaty anymore.
Por lo
But because
menos,
of
sí.
that, some of her jump attacks, which are really good, we had to make their hit stun and block stun a little bit less, kind of similar to what we did with Aghanos, to make sure that these weren't too bad, right? So if she does some of these attacks, on the way up, let me get to the corner so this isn't so tough for me. She's going to get punished on the way down. So you're going to have to hit these a little bit deeper to make sure that they do what you want them to do. And the moves that got that adjustment are jumping light punch, jumping medium punch, jumping heavy punch, and jumping light kick. The medium kick and the heavy kick are not touched. Those are the same as they were.
Gotcha.
Just because of the hitboxes and active time on those. All right, so this one I can't demo against Tusk, but you have to just trust me. All normal versions of her dragon kick now ignore armor. That's this guy right here. This is a unique ability for Kim. It's specifically added to the game to help in her matchup against Aghanos, which is widely regarded as one of the most lopsided matchups in the game. So she's got a little something now for that.
So
We've also
Aghanos
increased the
va a
travel
coger
speed and
pelas
total
también
distance
de
traveled by
ella.
the light dragon kick. This makes it a stronger whiff punish tool. So you can see it almost reaches full screen now. Moves pretty quick. If
El
somebody's,
light!
walking around just doing this, you can usually punish it, tag them with that.
Ese es light, loco.
But because that ended up being very strong, we had to decrease the damage on the light dragon kick. So I'm sure Kim players already noticed that this used to deal 30 damage, now it deals 20. It's a big drop. It used to be 35 on counter hit, and now it's 25. And because of that first hit multiplier and the way the game works, that means that a raw light dragon kick now does 40 damage instead of 60, and a counter hit does 50 instead of 70. But considering all of the extra properties this got with the distance and the armor break, it's a really great tool for her. And we did not drop the damage of the medium or heavy version. They'll still deal what they used to because they're still a lot harder to hit. One thing I do want to note, though, because of the extra distance on this, if you block this standing, it's going to be what you remember. But a lot of times what happens with this new version of the move is if you block it crouching, she just flies over your head.
Oh, nice.
And she has a lot of recovery. You can still punish her, but you need to be ready for it, because if you're not, you know, you might try to hit jab or something, and then she's way over here.
Right.
So if you hit the right button, though, you know, you'll hit her and you'll be fine. You'll get that punish.
That's really funny looking.
Yeah.
I
That's
don't think
fine.
I've seen a
That's
move
fine.
like you block like that and then still go over someone's head. Like I
Yeah.
can't think of a fighting game move like that.
That's a
It
really
just ended
fun
up
one,
being
yeah.
like a goofy interaction that we kind of thought was cool.
Yeah. That's cool.
The medium and heavy dragon kick moves now count as being in air 1 frame sooner than before. The only reason for this is it corrected that bug Sonic Dolphin would always do on main stage at Counter Breaker, where he'd make Kim like teleport across the screen. It was horrible looking, and I wanted it gone, so it's gone.
Love that.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's it for Kim. I think it's not a huge amount of things for Kim, but that walk speed is wild. And you know, I do think
A muchos personajes le subieron 20% de velocidad de walk speed.
Definitely put a lot of
So,
attention into it. It's very good.
tienes que verlo.
And the nice thing is for Kim players who don't want to play footsies, you can
Tienes
just
que
pretend
ver
you're trying to
a-
finish when you do that move and then just do it anyway.
A Spinal,
You
cabrón.
dragon cancel it if you have one.
Yeah, that's also good too.
Yeah.
What happens when you dragon cancel it when someone's like crouching? Do you like just go flying?
Well, I guess I need a dragon, so let's do this.
I have no idea. I'm very curious.
It
Oh,
stopped
okay.
me in front. If I wait till I pass over, then I just move
Oh
forward.
god. Okay.
Yeah.
All
Not too
all
wild.
Yeah, I was just
If
curious.
she doesn't cross back over you or something.
Yeah, if she just went the other way, like double left right mix up.
Yeah. Exactly. And
That
then we
was
fixed
cool.
a couple counter hit frame data issues for her as well.
Hmm.
Next up
Okay.
is Tusk. We only got one major change for Tusk, which is that we reduced the cost of his Berserker cancels during Instinct by 30% to make his Instinct more threatening. So he can do his Berserker cancels. I'm doing that on Gamepad. Wow, I'm the best. Okay. I'm not a Gamepad player. That was very impressive to myself. But you can get a lot more of those cancels out now. So I think Tusk is actually a really good character. And if you've ever like fought Latalises, this change probably scares you a little bit. But just, you know, 30% more time in that mode is probably pretty scary. But yeah, that's it for Tusk.
Yeah, his instinct's already very powerful. So
Yeah.
yeah, that is scary.
He got some fixes on inconsistent counter
A
hit
Fulgor
stuff as
cuando
well.
hace
Arbiter did
los
as well.
cancel,
He was not
el
directly a
pivot
balance change.
del
And
instinct le
now-
baja más rápido.
The moment you've all been waiting for.
Arbiter can reload.
Finally made it far enough down the list to reach Rash.
You know, he must have gotten lots of great buffs, right?
He has a page and a half of nerfs.
Okay.
A page and a half of nerf.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Jesus.
All right, let's do this thing. The moment you've all been waiting for, it's here. Wrecking ball adjustments. Let's
Max!
start there. Everyone's least favorite move.
Mhm.
We've removed armor entirely from the air
Kill
version
the
of
fucking
Wrecking
frog.
Ball. Just the air version. Rash players were able to use this to completely circumvent the risk of approach and start their offense far too easily. Wrecking Ball, both air and ground versions, now have heavy attack priority. Used to be special attack priority. So because of the lack of armor on the air version, this means beating it cleanly is much more reasonable to do, which I will now fail to do multiple times in a demo. Oh, I'm gonna get it. Hold on. Oh no. Doing two
Almost
controls. I'm no
spacing.
Sakurai, you know? There, got it. 3 tries. That's not too bad. So that's a big deal. We've also reduced the block stun on the Wrecking Ball moves to 10 frames each. It used to be 18 frames on the ground version and a criminal 24 frames on the air version. That had to have been a typo. Why would I do that? So yeah, if you block these moves now, I did not mean to jump on the player 2 controller. Give me a moment here. You have a lot more time to kind of scoot under or throw out an anti-air because the block stun time is so much less. So you just have a lot more time to make a response. Rash still has the luxury of being able to do this, you know, forward moving, really good move and still attack afterwards and all that kinds of stuff. But you have to use that move a lot more thoughtfully now, especially the air version, which has no armor.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, standing heavy kick. We've added 6 frames of recovery time to the standing heavy kick. You can actually probably see the animation looks a little different. He kind of holds his leg up a little longer at the end. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've added a little bit of recovery time to the standing heavy kick, but we also added 6 frames of block stun and hit stun time so that the frame advantage is the same as before. But it's going to make whiff punishing this move like a lot more reasonable. You can like see it and then smack him, which you really couldn't do before. It was very difficult to whiff punish. In addition to that, we've also shortened the cancel window on the standing heavy kick. It can now be canceled between frames 19 and 21. Used to be between 19 and 30, which was also a little bit criminal. And we also reduced the hit stop that this move inflicts by 3 frames. The result, hit confirming standing heavy kick, is much more challenging. I'm not going to say it's impossible. It's much, much harder though. Most of the time when I try it, I'm too late. But I do think somebody who's really, really paying attention could probably still do it. But pretty hard. Next up, we added 5 frames of recovery time to the overhead hammer fist command normal on whiff. So that also makes this a little easier to whiff punish. And we adjusted the block stun, so it's still -3 on block. But we didn't adjust the hit stun time because it crumple and recaptures. So you can already link whatever you want off of this. It's not a big deal. And just trying to make it a little bit more whiff punishable so we can't just kind of like do this over and over again quite as easily. We reduced the damage on the opener versions of Battering Ram to reduce his corner and instinct combo damage a bit. These used to do 10, 13, and 16 damage for light, medium, and heavy. Now it's 8, 9, and 10. So less damage on these. Gargos's wings are in the way, of course, but...
Yeah.
We've drastically reduced the wall splat range of Rash's Wrecking Ball Ender. It pushes slightly less than half as far as it used to. This was the best wall splat Ender in the game. He pushed you back, and he was flying at you while he pushed you back. So he pushed you back extra far so he could fly with you. He would go like 2 full screen lengths and get wall splats from anywhere. After the nerf, this is still the best wall splat Ender in the game. Just way less, like 45% of what it used to be. So let's take a look. He lands a bit farther from you now. We had to adjust the frame advantage so he'd be even and not be punishable if he didn't hit the wall, because before he was actually punishable if he didn't hit the wall. But way less far than before. Still probably one of the best, or not, if not the best, wall splat Enders in the game.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was wild before for sure. He took you way too far.
Yep. His throw now deals 35 damage. Used to be 45. Nice little drop there. His throw has the added benefit of being able to reposition or change directions, or even delay the release to combo into instinct projectiles. It just didn't make sense for it to do so much upfront damage, so now it does less. We've also lowered the damage of every hit of all of his Ender types by 1 to 2 points. Rash is a highly mobile character with many reasonably safe ways to open up opponents, so his damage output was just a little bit too high for the risk factor. So we'll do a level 4 Ender here. Take a look. It's just a little bit of a decrease, not huge, 42%. That probably would have been like 46 before, maybe 40, 45. And then this next one's pretty big. We reduced the damage on Shadow Big Bad Boot.
Ooh.
It used to do 32. Used to do 52 total. Now it does 32. Wow. It's a little bit less on block as well. It seems absurd in retrospect that this move was hit so much harder than, say, a Jago Shadow Uppercut, despite covering so much more space on the screen, doing so much more chip damage, being way easier to confirm into instinct or for safety or pressure. This change is also going to reduce Rash's juggle cash-outs considerably, forcing him to risk a more breakable recapture in order to score a more optimal grounded Ender for damage.
They retooled the frog.
That's a lot less damage on the Shadow Big Bad Boot. It's a huge change.
8.
Yes. So, that's a lot of Rash nerfs. I went through them pretty fast. That's going to seem like a lot, but in practice, he's still a menace. He easily circumvents a lot of the game's zoning. He has strong pressure, and he can deal difficult to break damage. So let's hope his overall risk matches his reward a bit better after all of this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's still pretty good.
Yeah, I expect that he'll probably still be pretty strong, because his tools are great. Even if he is just a bit weaker in a bunch of different ways, his tools are really strong.
Yeah.
So next up is Gargos. Yeah, go ahead, James.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a recap on the Rash reaction. I'm pretty sure you know how that went. I think there's Alan Speed is probably writing a song right now about it. And let me just answer one of the questions that keeps coming up. Crossplay. So we didn't really cover that, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there because it keeps getting pinged. Someone asked me to do this. So yeah, crossplay is still there. You can still play Exhibition and Lobbies crossplay Steam to Xbox/PC, which is Windows. But ranked, there's no ranked crossplay. We did not turn that on. That's not something that we can do. So it is Xbox/PC ranked as always, and then Steam is its own ranked ecosystem. So that answers that one. I appreciate everybody asking that question, and hopefully that helps.
Okay.
Cool. All right,
Okay,
moving on.
no
Gargos. Arguably a character that doesn't need a nerf, but this is one of those things that was just really frustrating for folks, so we wanted to tone it down a little bit, and that's the portal punches. So we reduced the damage on light portal punch to 7, used to be 10, a little bit less damage on those. We also, let me switch sides so you can see the life bar. We also reduced the block stun inflicted by all of the portal punches by 5, so they do a little bit less block stun than before, and that means you're going to be able to press a button to tag a minion, or dash or something like that much sooner after this if you want to
Oh,
try and
please,
get in on
thank you,
Gargos.
gracias.
Again, I
Por
don't
lo
think he's like a
menos,
super successful
carajo.
character that needed a nerf, but this was just one of those things that was really frustrating for a lot of the player base. And
Yes,
we wanted to tone
yes.
it down a little bit.
Fucking minions, for real.
Gotcha. Man, those Rash changes. I love the people in the chat who are like, Rash is dead, and then also Rash is still top 1. I saw both. I
We'll
saw
have to
both
see.
people.
I have no idea how it's going to shake out, but my suspicion is he's probably still
Tiene a
reasonably
Ram, yo sabía. Pero mira que le hicieron. No le hicieron una Kilgore. No, ¿verdad? Kilgore
strong. All right,
no.
let's check out General Ram and Idol.
An idol. Two big guys, though.
All right, so for General Ram, we just have one change. I think it's a pretty big one, but it may sound small to some folks. We'll see. All versions. Let me turn him on human real quick. All versions of the Crow Rush. That's this guy right here, the run and grab. They now attempt to grab 1 frame after the run ends. Used to be 5. So you see that part of the animation where he stops and like reaches for you? Used to be 5 frames after that started that he would grab you, and now it's 1 frame after that starts that he grabs you. So the issue we're running into is that Crow Rush, this move, is armored. It has the Krill armor on it. But that armor would end right as he started to try to grab you. And because there was a 5-frame window in there between the running ending and the grab, we would either have to give him another instance of armor there because of the way the game is built, so he'd get refreshed armor for 5 frames, or we had to shorten that window. Otherwise, he would just be left unarmored completely for 5 frames, which made the move just feel so much harder to use. It's also like not the highest reward move. You just get poison, a tiny bit of damage, and you're in like a +4 situation, which is nice, but it just felt like this move could stand to be a little stronger. So that's the change we made. It's a lot harder to kind of jump out of these on reaction. And you certainly are not going to find times where you mash jab and just kind of blow up the armor for no reason. Again, I think this is a bigger change than it sounds like it is, but it'll be hard to know until we see ROM players like put it into practice, because this isn't even a move that they used super often because it wasn't a very good move, and now it's a pretty good move. Cool.
Now idol.
Moving on to Idol.
I'm very curious, yeah.
Yeah, so we made some adjustments to his self face punch. I think I need to change some options here. I need to probably turn off regenerating health. Yeah. So we reduced the odds of changing modes after using the wake up self face punch significantly. It used to take, I think a worst case of 4 punches, and now I think the worst case I've seen is 9 punches to change. We've increased the self damage done by this as well from 5 to 10. So I'll demo this in a second, but Idol is 2 characters in 1, each with their own favorable and difficult matchups. But unfortunately, Idol players are finding it too quick and too low risk to stay in the mode they want to stay in, which heavily circumvents the intended weakness. So to combat this, we took a pretty hard swing at the face punching mechanic to make players think twice about using it to stay in a favorable matchup state. So I'm just going to start hitting myself. You can see how much damage I'm doing to myself. I got it in 3 that time, which is very uncommon. 2 that time. Wow, this is just the worst demo. 4 or 5 that time.
He is punching. He is very strong though.
Yeah, it took 6 that time. But the way it works, right, is like every time you do a thing that could change him, like a special move or whatever, it rolls the dice to see if he'll change, and if it doesn't, it adds a percentage chance to that, so it's more likely to happen next time. And a face punch is the same type of thing. It just adds a little bit of percentage and rolls the dice for you real quik. So you're still going to add a lot of percentage by just like doing these types of moves, right? You can just throw out special moves and add that percentage, and then eventually go for the switch with the punch, and it should work out. I'm getting really fast switches right now. I think I'm just getting really favorable RNG, but you'll find in practice it actually takes quite a bit longer to switch on purpose in most cases.
Oh god, that was a lot of punches. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's more like it usually. So again, may the RNG gods be with you. Next up, his Shadow Bolt Strike. I should probably turn infinite health back on. Whoops. His Shadow Bolt Strike is now fully invulnerable to projectiles only. It used to be fully invulnerable on startup.
Okay.
And to be honest, nobody on the design team remembers making that invulnerable in the first place, so we'll chalk it up to a questionable decision from past us. Mage mode was not intended to have reversal options outside of this one, backwards telestrike. So in order to make sure that Mage mode has an answer to meaty projectile setups, we just kept the projectile invincibility on the first 14 frames of this. So you're not going to be using that to get out of pressure as Mage anymore.
Okay.
Also, his Stomp Strike has been adjusted. These used to be 0, +2, and +3 on block. Now they're -2, -4, and -6. And they still push you back quite a bit and all that, right? So you won't always get a punish on them. But it just didn't make sense for Mage mode to have up close pressure as good as the Stomp Strikes were enabling. So getting rid of that, along with getting rid of that invulnerable Shadow Bolt Strike, it's going to put Mage mode's weaknesses where they were always intended to be, which is that he's going to want to not be up close to opponents. He's going to want to zone.
Yeah. Yeah, the stomps were wild before.
Yeah, and that's it for Idle. Not a huge amount of changes, but I think in practice they're going to make a pretty big dent on the game plan. So we'll see how that goes as well.
Yeah, I mean he is quite a strong character, so I think it makes sense.
And we're down to our last two characters. We got Eagle
And
and Shin Hisako.
Shin Hisako. Ok, yo quiero ver qué hicieron con Shin
Yeah.
Hisako, bro.
Idle in mage mode, bullying you so hard was definitely not fun up close. You're like, why am I being stomped to death?
Yeah. All right, let's check this out. I'm gonna do Shin Hisako first. I just put her on
Okay.
player 2 because it's a little easier for me to control Eagle on arcade stick for various reasons. Okay, cool. Shin Hisako, only one change on this character. I think this is a character loaded with untapped potential, but it was very clear that she had a real struggle in matchups against zoners.
Yeah.
And the change that we made was we made it so that her forward moving spirit orb moves twice as fast as it used to.
Oh.
So let's take a look. Forward moving spirit orb.
Whoa.
That thing is cruising now. And of course she can teleport to it at any time. She can unleash those in the air. It takes a lot less time for you to wait till it to get into a good position to teleport in, which is great.
That's
Additionally,
good.
she has incredibly good walk speeds. And before you would put out one of these and just like, you know, it'd be off screen already behind me. And you can't go full speed with them or anything like that. They are pretty fast, not that fast, but you can actually kind of like stay near it and be more threatening and just kind of poke these into a fireball whenever you want. And they have really good priority against other projectiles as well. So, you know, they're good for an opportunity to blow through a projectile at the right distance and make something happen. I think it's a huge change for her, and I think it's going to really help
That's really
with the
good.
matchups
That's
that were
really
really
good.
bad for her as well. Because again, I think she's a very, you know, rich character filled with untapped potential that was just really struggling because some of those matchups were just really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good change. She probably needed to be able to schmoove a little bit more with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, watching her just get walled out, she's kind of a character where she either ran away and did stuff and she looked really good, or she just like couldn't get in and you're like, well.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
And
tenía
then
que estar
lastly,
cerca,
let's talk
obligado.
about Eagle. Eagle is the only other character we teased would be changing a bit. He was the last character we ever released for the game, and as such, he had the least amount of time to get tweaks and adjustments and stuff. We made quite a lot of changes to him here with the goal of tuning him a bit more towards zoning and a bit away from lockdown. He still has a little bit of that though, to get him more in line with our original vision for the character.
Okay.
So, you know, of all the characters, I think this is probably one of the bigger adjustments you'll have to make if you're an Eagle player.
Okay.
First up, we added 4 additional frames of block stop and hit stop to the bow spin, just like Fulgor's, just to make it a little easier to shadow counter. Not a huge deal. I guess I should make her block it, right, so you can see it. Yeah, there you go. All right, so next up, we lengthened. This is a huge mix of buffs and nerfs. They're not in any particular order. You'll know what's a buff and a nerf as I say it, for sure. But we lengthened the recovery time that the bird suffers after Sonic Screech and Bird Bomb actions. So that's this guy, Sonic Screech. You can wait to see how long it takes for the bird to recover. When he flashes, that's when I can use him again, right? So that's now 120 frames of recovery. Used to be, or sorry, 210 frames of recovery. Used to be 120. And the Bird Bomb is now 180 frames of recovery. Used to be 120. So it's quite a bit more recovery on these bird actions. These particularly powerful bird actions.
Okay.
So you're gonna have to use these moves a bit more thoughtfully. We also added 4 frames of block stun to each hit of the Sonic Screech to trigger Absolute Guard. Absolute Guard means that if you're blocking and you let go a block, you continue to block, right? So if I block that and I let go a block on Hisako, she's going to keep blocking it. And the issue here was Eagle would make you block the Sonic Screech and then just jump over you. And you would get hit every single time. Like that is just a really hard cross up to block. And in this case now, let's see if I can do it here. Oh, that's the wrong motion. Gotta let the bird reset. And there he goes. So now the Absolute Guard is going to save you. You're not going to get opened up completely for free every time you block the bird screech. But on the other side of that, you can't wiggle out either. That's a true block string now. You can't just like do a projectile invincible move to kind of scoot out of there. So it has a little bit of a buff to it as well. But I think overall I would consider it a nerf. We also adjusted the bird bomb explosion area, the hitbox on this, to be both bigger, like taller, and hit closer to Eagle. So it's harder to wedge yourself like in between the explosion and him and just avoid it completely. It's his only defensive tool, and it was just too easy to jump over or get behind previously. And I think the longer recovery on the bird bomb also helps justify this change.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We also increased the damage on bird bomb. It used to be 14, now it's 20. We added some additional pushback to bird swoop. This is going to aid his zoning a lot. You can see it kind of gives you a little shove when you block it, very similar to Arya's booster drone. And we've increased the damage on bird swoop from 10 to 15, so a little bit more damage into his zoning. Arrows don't hit that hard, but you can kind of throw out the bird. It's one of his lower recovery actions as well, to aid your zoning and make it even cooler. All right, so moving on. This is my favorite buff for Eagle, I think. But we got some bird fling improvements. This move was just filled with issues that I wish I had caught back then. We corrected an issue where the game was not checking for the 3-kick input properly when pressing all 3 kick buttons manually, like on an arcade stick. So doing the bird fling on a pad with the shortcut 3-kick button felt great, but on stick it just didn't work most of the time. But that is fixed now. So if you're a stick user and an Eagle player, you're going to find getting these bird flings out if you use the 3 kicks manually to feel vastly more reliable, just so much more reliable. That's a nice change.
Okay.
There was another issue though. We fixed an input check, an issue where the input check after the bird fling could miss your button if you were too fast. So you do like bird fling and then attack, and you're like, oh, I got it. And then the game's just like, no, you were too fast. Your move's not coming out. And you never want to be punished for being too quick. So we fixed that as well. So you can see it's very easy to get these attacks out now and do your little, your little Magneto triangle dash stuff. Even a heavy will come out in time. Pretty easy to do. Feels so much better.
That's cool though. That's cool.
And of course, you can do those off of his flip as well. So you can do like this flip and then, dash in front of somebody, do an attack. Like that kind of thing is pretty cool.
Oh god, yeah, looks great.
You could always do that. It just felt unreliable to do it.
Yeah.
Feels a lot more reliable now.
You hit it like basically every time after the first couple.
Yeah, you just won't miss this anymore. We vastly increased the fling distances on all of the non-down directions for bird fling. And it's going to be a lot easier to move fling to move around the screen and kind of use it to aid your zoning, right? So obviously the down ones are for offense or for trickery. You're near somebody, you do one of these, you go low, you do, jump over them and then come back and hit them, typical 8-way air dash stuff. But the other ones are really interesting. This back one sends you about this far. The forward one sends you about that far. And then let's check up back. You can go up here and shoot an arrow from an interesting angle, right? The up one goes up pretty high. You can shoot an arrow from up really high now. And then of course the up forward one. And, if you want to, you could probably do something like that and almost kick somebody from full screen. If you were so inclined. I almost made it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he can move quite a bit.
That's cool though. That's really cool.
So much better to use, and I'm looking forward to seeing people kind of mix this into their movement and their zoning to cover new angles and just make the character feel a lot more threatening from a distance than he used to. Since his lockdown is definitely a lot worse now that all of his pressure strings involving this have longer delay before the next loop and all that kind of stuff. And then lastly, we made an adjustment to his instinct mode. Eagle's instinct mode was widely recognized as the weakest in the game, and worse than being the weakest, which would have been fine, it often feels like it gets in the player's way, which is really bad. So because some of his most oppressive lockdown has been weakened, we wanted to try to improve his instinct mode and make it worth using. So here's what we did. Peck now deals an additional 10 frames of hit stun, time to grounded opponents. This is Peck when the bird attacks automatically afterwards. So you have a lot more time to attack again. Peck is now going to launch airborne opponents into a juggle state, like that. So it's a little easier to do something. So the standing hard kick always launches, right? So if you kind of have Peck on deck and it's in the right spot, you can launch somebody up with that. And as a reminder, he can cash out juggles with this move.
Yeah.
And we've increased the hitbox size on Peck by 2x. It's much larger. So it basically almost never whiffs now. And it would happen a lot before, especially against a character as small as Shin Hisako, where the Peck would just not even touch her. She'd just be crouch blocking and it would totally miss. And you can see now that it definitely hits. You can definitely put the pressure on with this.
Acabar las
nice.
nus.
This looks way better. This looks way
So
more
much
fun too.
Yeah. And you can do, you can do cool combos with it. Something like that, right? It's kind of fun. Feels good to do. This just makes it's a useful instinct mode now. I'm not gonna say it's like the top instinct mode or anything, but it's useful now. You'll actually want to use it and do some cool stuff with it, which is awesome.
And I imagine with like Kling and Peck and everything, you probably have some more stuff that you can do, and that's like fun. And also just doing buttons. It seems
And of
just
course,
better to like walk down. Yeah.
Yeah, it comes out when you jump too, so you can jump over people and do something like that. And because the hit stun's longer, you might actually get a combo off of it now, whereas before it was actually pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of potential there as well.
That's
I think
cool.
overall, Eagle's probably a bit better than before, but less of a nightmare to fight against. Because
Yeah, I mean, he
should be
was
doing his game plan more and less like pin you in the corner with infinite arrows and infinite bird.
Yeah, he was really like when he was going before, it was like miserable, but when he's not, it was like all right. But this looks like more the power shifted, right? Like he's like he's got access to strong tools and stuff and cool things to do, but it's not just like I do Screech and then I hop and I'm chilling. It's like such a he kind of did one thing really well before, and now it's like
exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's it. That's the
seems-
balance changes.
Nice. Yeah. I think most of the changes to me make the characters more interesting and less degenerate, because we like degenerate stuff in KI, but like you don't want it to be like this is the thing I do. This is the good thing. So
Exactly.
yeah, I like the changes.
That's cool.
Makes
Yeah,
That's
hopefully
cool.
players' playstyles will shine a little bit better with some of
That's
these
cool, though.
changes and some of the most frustrating stuff folks have been dealing with. Maybe even in some cases they quit the game because some of the stuff crossed the line for them personally, and so they said this was too frustrating. Hopefully some of that stuff is toned down now. You can come back and give the game another try and have a lot of fun. Being a powerful character that's just a little less frustrating to fight against. And we do think the whole cast is still pretty powerful, especially those characters that didn't get changes. They're all very strong characters, and I think you will find they feel stronger now because some of those most difficult characters to fight are definitely toned down a bit.
Yeah, I imagine the power level of those characters feels much more reasonable now, for sure.
That's cool,
and so,
though.
like, if you're like, oh man, I didn't get any changes on, like, I don't know, Sailwolf or something, but like now Aganos is a little weaker, and then obviously like Rash is a little weaker, Arya is a little weaker. You're just like, wait a minute, this feels I can actually play the video game now against them, right? So
Exactly.
I'm
So
gonna
Steve,
play
what
the
changes are
video
you
game.
most looking forward to testing out on your stream after this?
well, it's funny, I don't know if it's like a change necessarily, but I'm actually really interested in trying Eagle in this version. He looks way more of a character that I would like to play, and since I played Fulgore for a long time, I really want to mess with the cancels. When you did like shallow blade dash into laser, I was like, okay,
It's like playing Morgan Fireball loops. It's
it's a soul like I saw that, I was like, okay, I can mess with that. That looks really fun.
Cool.
I'm super down.
Well, like we told you guys at the top of the show, Steve has access to this build, and he's going to be going live on his stream right when we shut down this stream. He's going to be able to test some stuff out in the training mode and show you guys hopefully a better frame rate than I've been able to broadcast. So right when the stream ends, the after party's going on twitch.tv/Sajam. If you want to see more of this build and explore it with him, head over. I might even show up and play some matches against him. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, and that's it. Steve, thank you so much for coming and helping out with this. Let's bring
Cuando
James back
viene?
on and do some closing information.
¿Cuándo
James,
viene?
welcome back.
Yo, hola.
Hey, I'm so glad I was off camera that whole time. And I was like, I don't know how you do it, Adam. I don't know how you play two things at once and show everything so seamlessly. But I was also
I
watching
made so many mistakes. I feel so embarrassed.
Oh man, well at least you didn't stutter like I did earlier, tongue-tied on a few simple ones. But hey, I also been watching the chat, and I will just say that I want to answer every single thing, but when there's this many thousands of people in there, it's just impossible. So this gave me a chance to slow down a bit for the end here. So let's talk about, let's just recap
¿Cuándo
a few
llega?
things. I want everybody to remember that at the beginning of the show, we talked about the fact that we're consolidating the editions from the many down to just, oh, here we go. KI base game and anniversary edition. This will be on all 3 platforms. Steam is getting free to play. Existing owners of Steam get an automatic free upgrade to this. Anybody
Steam
who
coge un
owns
free to play
KI
también. So.
Supreme Edition or KI Definitive Edition digitally, you automatically get an upgrade to this. And anybody who had any a la carte content, if you had just like 1 season, if you had a couple characters, don't worry, all that stuff is still unlocked in Anniversary Edition. You don't need to do anything. The only thing that we're doing that you need to remember is that we are retiring all of those previous editions in the a la carte option. So you only have these 2 options when you're done. So that means if you ever want to buy just 1 more character, or if you thought, you know, hey, I really want the KI Classics, you should go get Definitive Edition, or you can just buy 1 character right now. Or if you have Game Pass, you don't need to do anything. We're just going to replace the existing KI and Game Pass with this upgraded Anniversary Edition.
And that's it.
So, you know, we're just trying to make it as simple and easy as possible.
Sorry por la
So,
anuncio, gente.
yeah, and it's
Anyway.
Black Friday sale, so I think I saw that KI Definitive Edition is about $13-ish on all the platforms.
Sí, por
So,
favor.
yeah, it's a great time to buy it, and you don't lose by doing that. I mean, you're going to get all the accessories if you don't already have them when this comes out. You know?
You got friends or people in the FGC who've been wanting to give it a try. I mean, have them get that version quick.
Sí.
Yeah, totally.
Oh.
And I also mentioned earlier that the free-to-play base game is much nicer now that it's all of the whole cast rotating every week. So
Hey.
again, if you have any friends
Oh.
who have been on the fence or just wasn't sure, just hey, once this comes out, they get to check out a character each week, and you get to play all the modes in there. And that's the other thing that we do that's a little different.
So,
We let you go ranked,
bueno.
Shadow Lords, single player, whatever you want to do, you know, go for it. And oh, you may not know this one. Here's some secret sauce. If you play Shadow Lords in free-to-play mode, you actually get Jago unlocked permanently by simply completing the tutorial.
Okay.
He's got buffed.
Lab. Take him into Shadow Lab, make Shadow AI with your free Jago, and if you get halfway through progression in Shadow Lords, you get a free Orchid. So that's not. I don't think we really made that common knowledge. I mean, I think we hyped it up back in 2016 when we launched the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's the
Okay.
recap on a la carte
Okay.
and the modes. Let's talk about 86. Our friends at 86. They're doing their Black Friday event right now. I just looked their countdown. I think there's 4 days left. They've brought back some of the shirts that were previously gone, like Riptor and Cinder. They sold out of. They've brought that back. They've done a
yo compré
refreshed
esta camisa
design
ya.
on Thunder, and they've also refreshed the design on Glacius. And check this out. I mean, I look like a beast now. It's great. They fixed me up. So, I love this shirt. It's blue. I'm all into blue. So, and there's one last thing. 86 also has something new for you that just went live during the stream. We finally have a
Fucking.
Jago shirt. It's taken a
Fucking.
while, but boy, I love
Fucking
this design.
shit.
I can't wait to
Se
get
ve
my hands on it.
cabrona.
And so, yeah,
Se ve
that's it
cabrona.
from the merch hype department.
Se ve
All right,
cabrona.
everybody. That concludes our show. The patch notes should be online very shortly, if not right now. So check the link in the chat or on our social media when that comes up. A big special thanks to Sajam for helping today, and to the entire secret NDA test group for helping us make this update as good as possible. They were truly wonderful to work with, and they got to experience, you know, daily iteration builds, which I think was pretty cool for them as well. It was really fun to work with them.
Daily
The teams at
iteration board.
Xbox and Iron Galaxy sincerely hope you all enjoy exploring this new version of Killer Instinct. We want you to post your feedback and videos with the hashtag PlayKI wherever you post. And if you did a live reaction restream, toss us that link so we can check it out. We'll be watching all the awesome stuff you discover and matches you play. And be sure to join that after party stream on Sajam's channel, twitch.tv/Sajam, right after this. After the new version comes out, go play. Tell us what you think.
Oh,
Give it a little
please.
time.
I
We're really
will.
looking forward to hearing your feedback, and
I will.
we'll be following it closely in case any additional adjustments to the game balance are needed. Okay, thanks for loving KI. Thanks for being with us today. That's it. That's our show. One more thing.
As soon as we know the release date, because we're
Yes.
in final testing right now,
Oh
Yes,
my
we'll
gosh.
follow up. We'll hit you on social and we'll make
Please.
sure you know. It's soon.
Yes.
Soon. It's soon.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you on Sajam's stream. Bye.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Havik! Pero, by the way, Javi, esta fue de las últimas que ellos sacaron también. De Hisako. Era un Hisako y la de. By the way, de hombre. Y obviamente tuve que comprar la de Final. O sea, bien cabrona. ¿Sabes? Y mandé a pedir más todavía. Mandé a pedir unas más todavía. Zoom. Sí. Espero que no sea tan. Espero que no sean tan tarde, dos. Mira, ya nos metieron para donde sellan. Anyway. Estoy pompeado. Javi. Cata. Espero que hayas escuchado eso. Ya. ¿Qué me voy a hacer esto? Ya estamos a la idea de nada. Entonces, de tener el nuevo update. Estoy pompeado. Estoy pompeado. Sinceramente. Algo que estaba esperando. Esto fue el por qué yo compré esto. El por qué yo hice. Estamos haciendo stream. Javi, pero esto es por ahí, mi hermano. Espero que te puedas presentar también a par de jueguitos. Tenemos al Catador, tenemos a Iván también. Sí. Son necesarios. Anyway. Vámonos nosotros entonces. A ver dónde nos vamos. A ver dónde nos vamos. Vaya. Vámonos a irnos donde Urabandura. Está en Cookie String ahora mismo. A ver qué está haciendo. De nuevo, Corillo, gracias por darse cita y por estar presente por ahí. Esto algo que quería ver desde que lo anunciaron, que iban a hacer un parcho, un pack para que el Instinct, en verdad estaba pompeado. Y ahora sí tengo ganas de jugarlo. Anyway, recuerden seguirme por Twitter, por YouTube, por Twitter y por Instagram. Siempre por Twitter. Por ahí siempre tengo donde va a salir los próximos streams que estaremos haciendo. Tenemos mercancía. Encontrarla por ahí también en el chat. Le estoy dejando el link. Y UNI-versando el podcast. Estamos un poquito demasiado atrasados. Pero vamos a ver con qué no conviene eso. Merch. Sí, ya tú sabes. Anyway, yo lo voy a dejar hasta aquí, gente. Lo voy a dejar con Ura. Vayan a saludarlo. Dicen que James lo mandó para allá. Gracias, Corillo, en verdad, por siempre darse cita en el canal. Y nada, nos veremos el viernes con más de Monster Hunter. Con los muchachos jugando en Steam. Así que, no por James. Recuerden que siempre tienen una oreja que los escuche. Se me quiten, se les quiere, se me cuidan. Bye.
escuchar.